Surprise! I forgot to take off the graphic. I'm sorry, everybody. Doug, how you doing?
Doing well.
Good. We if it's not me screwing up at the beginning of a show like that, it's in fact it's usually my guests. So, but we all take turns. What can I say? Everybody, how you doing? Good to see you all on this lovely Sunday evening. Very happy to be here, especially with Doug. Those of you who remember my episodes that I've done with Mark Vega, Mike DeLeRee, aka NSNart, you'll have an idea. If you don't know Doug at all, you'll have an idea just by remembering those shows, the kind of non-mainstream focus on comic art that Doug collects. So most of the collectors that have done show and tells with me are more mainstream, as you all know. But that's why every once in a while I like to do different stuff like this. And so I'm pretty excited, and I appreciate that you accepted my offer to do it, Doug. So thank you.
Absolutely. Always happy to talk art. I was just thinking, for people who were watching Heritage today, it's been a very long day of art.
Oh, I got to say, I didn't watch any of the days, so I don't know what has happened. I'll have to see if I have time to go back to it and look at it all after it's all over. But since you mentioned it, hell, is there anything that you bid on? You don't have to give details, but did you bid on anything?
Well, not really today. I mean, as you know, I was out today. But yeah, I bought something on Friday, and it's kind of ironic because, like you were saying, most of my collection is sort of alternative or underground or things like that. But I happened to buy a Marvel piece on Friday. What? So just throwing you a curveball, Ruben. Just, right off the top.
No kidding. Wow, I did not expect to hear that. I'll tell you that.
I didn't expect to do it, but I saw something I liked at a decent price, and I said, you know what? Let's do it.
Okay. Wow. That's pretty wild. But again, curveballs. Yeah, I always like curveballs. I like to throw curveballs here to the audience as well. So that's all. That's all good. Hey fellas, how you doing? Marcus, what's good? Just try to say hello to everybody as quickly as I can, because I know these guys are racking up comments like crazy already. Rick Welch, what's happening? Let's go underground. And by the way, I don't know if you know Doug. I know that you know Rick, but he's like literally the best pun giver. He comes up with the greatest puns. So let's go.
He's the fastest commenter on my stuff, at least.
Yeah, that I noticed as I did my selecting process on your gallery. I was noticing, man, there's a lot of Rick here. And you know what? I'm not surprised, because last week, at the end of the last week's show, I think it was his last comment, or one of his last comments was, something to the effect of, I can't wait. Next week's going to be great with Doug, So like, okay. He was looking forward to it. That's basically what he was trying to say, Happy Sunday, Heritage Hungover Art Addict. What's up, Peter? Tom, good to see you. Marcus, yes, I got the email. And I renewed immediately. There you go. Like I said, I would. Jason Ladwig, what's good? And we got two emails. Okay, I got one. I don't know what the second one you're talking about, Rick. What else we got? John Brown, good day, or I don't know. Depends on where you are. Yeah, I guess good evening. David Barr in Australia again, as always. Lovely, good to see you. And we got let's see, who else? Peter, Pumpkin Eater, Marcus, Tom, David. Okay, so we got all the hellos to everybody. Let me skip ahead and see. CJ, what's happening, CJ? Good to see you as always. And who else do we have? Everybody. Wow, you guys are really active. At least I love that, though. Like, everybody saying hello to everybody. There's well over 80 comments. Most of them people just saying hello. Ruben's still trying to decide on number 20. Yo, Tom, what's good? Hey there, Doug, from Tom. Hi, Doug.
Hey, Tom.
How much did the Iron Man page from Heritage go for again? 4 point something, or is it 3.8 million? Something like that. Close to 4 million, I believe it was. David,
That was not the page that I bought.
that was not the one. No,
just so you know.
no. I won that one. I won that one. Yeah, you can all come and visit me and look at it. There he is, our friend Mark. What's up, Mark? I'm happy you made it. I was hoping you could make it tonight. I hope you can stick around, though. I know you. Sometimes you can't stick around. So I hope that you can stay with us live and not have to catch it later on rewind. We'll see. Well, you'll let us know. Super stoked for the show. Tom, wow. The #1 Marvel fan is stoked for Doug's episode. I'm excited. I'm excited. If you, of all people, Mr. #1 Marvel fan, are excited for tonight, then that I can't help but be excited. So it portends good things, Doug, you know. And there we go from the Rickster, the official hello. And let me see, who else do we have here? NSNart is here. Yes, sir. Mike DeLeRee, multiple NSFW galleries. Yay! Yeah, Ruben with an E. Yeah, he made a mistake again. Only one E, Rick. The one with the accent. The one right before the N. Was fun. HA was fun. Oh, okay. Did you win anything? That's what we want to know. Did you win anything, Tom? Alberto, what's happening? Happy Sunday to you. Can't stay for too long as I have dinner soon. That's what you always say, though. I'm sure you'll be back later, though. Enjoy dinner. Whenever you leave, that is, of course. Yes, indeed. So gotta rile him up. Okay, here we go. Mark, Doug is one of the smartest and nicest collectors around. If you haven't checked out his collection, give it a look. Exceptionally curated with awesome examples. And of course, that is a perfect segue, everyone. In case the new ones among you watching for the first time don't know, you can always go down into the comments, or I should say, the description of this video below. And under the description, you will see the direct link right to Doug's gallery. But, save it for later after the show. And, go check it out in detail. And leave him some comments while you're at it. I'm sure you appreciate that. So, okay. Original art, again, the great name. I don't know how you got that name before anybody else. Original art. Overpaid on yet another spawn page on Heritage today. Whee! You have nobody but to blame but yourself, man. What are you gonna do? What you get, Doug? Well, that's personal, Tom. And if he wants to let you know, he'll let you know. I like to think, Doug, most people, because I know this for a fact, most people, it's that jinx thing where it's like, I just won it. I haven't paid for it, or maybe I paid for it, but I haven't received it. Let me receive it first before I reveal what I got. Are you like that? Are you one of those?
Yeah, I think so. Although, if people want to guess, I'll tell them if they're right, and I'll give you a hint. It was on Friday, and it was not a crazy purchase.
Yeah, that's whittling it down to about 700 pieces.
And it was Marvel. We'll say it was Marvel.
Well, yeah, you already said that, but yeah, Marvel, not a crazy piece. And on Friday, that's only a few hundred to guess from everybody. So go ahead. Everybody's congratulating on you on the Iron Man splash, of course.
Yeah, it was a big thing. I had to sell my house, but it's okay.
Yeah. And what else? Sonny, how you doing, Sonny? I only follow 11 galleries, and Doug's is one of them. Nice. Look at that. You're one of his 11. Wow. Very nice. Sonny
People
also
are kind.
Interesting taste. So, but good ones as well. Maki Poo Poo, how's it going, Michael? And Tom follows 165 galleries. Yeah, that's a major compliment to Doug, Sonny. Yes. For sure. And let me see. So we got Maki Poo Poo, Sunny. Who else is here? Record breaking. In what sense, Rick, was that record breaking? Is that no? That's not the record for the most expensive mainstream piece of comic art, right? Because I think the Secret Wars piece was still more than that, wasn't it? I think the Secret Wars splash with the Spider-Man black costume, I think that wasn't that over 4 million, 4.5 or something, or I don't know, I can't remember. But yeah, let me know. And who else do we have? Who else is in the house? So we got Peter, Marcus. Yes, just like George Perez, Ruben with the accent. It should be on the second E because there's only, well, I guess, yeah, the first E because there's only one E. Thanks, Marcus. Didn't win, but there's nice pieces and other auctions going hard for. Okay, no wins for you. You can't win them all. Hey, Carlos, what's happening? Good to see you. Thank you for dropping in. And let me see. Who else? Almost caught up here. It beat Secret Wars. Okay. Thank you, Marcus, for clarifying. So Secret Wars was what? The low 3 million range? Is that what it was? Like 3.2 something maybe? Or 3.4? Interesting. This was close to 4. So, okay. So it's the new record. I guess you're right. Yeah. Broke the Secret Wars record. Interesting. Wow. Okay. Okay, so thank you, Marcus. Secret Wars was 3.36. All right. Yeah, and I think tonight's, or not tonight's, but the other night was 3.8-ish, something like that. Yeah, that's wild. Shh, it's a secret. Mark says, I also picked up a Marvel page at the auction. Wow. 2 of you. What is happening? What is happening here this weekend, Doug?
Mark and I are in sync, as always.
And only his second. Wow. Wow, Mark. I'm impressed. I won't even ask you unless you're willing to divulge. I'm not going to ask you. Hey, Scott. Lovely to have you. MLB, good to see you again. Lots of insanity and insanity wins. Interesting. Okay. I never had the time to, what do you call it? Track MLB. I never tracked. So I'm going to hope I get some time to just go through it all without tracking now, of course, and see if I can catch any future examples for the insanity shows, you know? And let me see. Congratulations, Mark. Yes. What else? Congratulations. Very nice, Mark. Insanity rules. From today's session, so Mark is also giving hints, as good as as close of a hint as Doug's, of course. You know, it's from today's session. Take a guess. Might need a hint on the page. Yeah. Good day. Indies are too expensive. They have slum it with Marvel art. I don't know. The indie stuff, some of it is cheap. But a lot of it is, man, it's just as pricey and tough to get as Marvel and DC art, mainstream art, you know? So, yes, Mike Snitzer, exactly. Been a bit, I know. But since you always go by original art, I feel like, I don't know, sometimes I feel I should use the personal name. Sometimes I feel like, well, maybe they prefer just, the fake name. I have been well, thank you. I hope you as well. And I see you took serious shit for snicked comments. Michael has been an ass to me on Facebook groups. His super thin skin is incompatible with us. Listen, I don't want to get into it. He's got his thing. I never talk to him. He doesn't talk to me. He's got his little niche in the hobby. I got mine. Whatever. I will say this, in case he watches. All I was trying to say is for 2 simple reasons. You guys, some of you, 2 or 3 of you were trying to say, oh, yeah, go to that site, go to the site. It's not that I care if you guys go and open galleries, to post your art on other websites. I don't care. It has nothing to do with me. Do what you want. I've always said that. But for 2 reasons, what I was saying was that it ain't going to work, meaning this hobby has always been way too niche and small for there to be 2 viable websites where the majority of the active collectors go and post their art. And human nature is such that once you have your collection online somewhere that you've put up there over a number of years, human nature dictates that most of us, we're not going to say, Oh, there's a new site, and it looks even better than the first one. Yep, I'm going to start posting all my collection onto that site too now. It just doesn't happen. It's a lot of time and effort, and for that reason alone, that's why nobody else ever tried to compete with CAF. You know, that's the main reason. And believe me, I can tell you, I have a lot of inside knowledge that I've accrued over 30 years in the hobby. I can tell you, there has always been quite a few people who talked about and considered trying to compete and build a better CAF, quote unquote. But ultimately, the reasons they didn't attempt was for that main reason, right, that I just explained. It's because of the fact that the hobby is too small, and ultimately, most people will not decide to re-upload, take the time and effort to re-upload their entire collection onto a second site. That's it. And I stand by what I said on last week's show. It's not me who made it up. You guys all know. Everybody I talk to tells me nothing but bad things about the people behind that website. So that's it. So that, you know, that's also going to hamper you from getting, you know, any traction in the hobby. So it is what it is. But other than that, nothing else to say. Okay. Picked up 2. Good for you, Peter. Congratulations. Let me see. You mail my list. Maybe you find more than me. Oh, yeah, sure. As always, I appreciate that, MLB. I'd appreciate that. Yeah. And just in case I don't end up getting the time, it'll be nice to have your list. At least I can have the ones that you find, you know. I wasn't planning on Heritage this weekend, but I bought something sort of by accident. Don't you love when that happens, Doug? I wasn't planning on it, but I bought it by accident. You know, I just happened to accidentally put a few bids on something, and I ended up the winner, you know. That's funny. Let me see. Who else? Well done on the win, Peter. Yes, congratulations, Peter. The Castle Freaks made you do it. Let me see. He gave you his number. No, I did not. I have zero interest in giving anybody like that any time of day to try to BS me, to convince me they're on the up and up. So there you go. Hi, everyone. There's my wife, my lovely wife. She's out. Her and Arwen both have been out of town for the last few days. So nice, honey, that you were able to tune in just to say hello to everybody. So dedicated. What a great supporter you are. So thank you very, very much. Let me see. Ruben gives his views unvarnished and honest. As I always say, I'm not for everybody, but yes, I'm honest, and some people may not like the honesty. That's the way it is, but that's exactly the point of it, you know? Try to do well by everybody, be a good person, be a nice person, and that's it. But thank you, Peter. Guy, he's popular, been on CAF Live like half a dozen times. Okay, calm down. I guess that's an inside joke. What else? Nick, hi, Vivian. Okay, hello, Vivian. Calm down. More inside jokes. I was not given a phone number. Okay, calm down. I haven't seen. Blah 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 blah. Congrats, Peter. Hi, Vivian again. Vivian deserves it. So any hellos to Vivian, I will post them. I'm not a comics bad idea schmoozer. I finally caught up, but Quintana might be there. Marcus, too far away to go. A couple of more comments. Mark says, Bill probably regrets having him on so many times. Indeed. He basically used him, right? Quintana first mention. Okay, who cares about Quintana? Don't care about Quintana. Alberto started to calm down. Inside joke. Yeah, I know, Rick, I know, but thank you for putting it out there. Isn't there, Alex Garcia, what's up? Isn't there a comic art show on Thursday night near SDCC? I have no idea. Good to see you, Alex. Good to see you. All right, we've caught up. So, excellent. Thank you guys for being so excited and willing to talk up a storm. It's very exciting. Hopefully you guys will have a lot of really great comments to shoot out as Doug and I take a look at the art and show you and present the art to you. And as always, again, for anybody here for the first time, for those of you watching this on Rewind after the fact, just know that the show is called Show and Tell. We're going to show about 20 pieces of art. And although it seems like we could probably get through that in an hour, the show will last probably a few hours. And it's because we will talk a lot, not just Doug and I, but I will be the voice that amplifies the voices of those people willing to talk and make comments and leave comments and ask questions in the chat. Yeah, let's all have at it. I think it's going to be a very fun, exciting show, and especially with Doug being here for the first time. And you know, he mentioned to me, so all of you know, he mentioned to me that it was Felix who encouraged him to come on. And so that's very nice. So I'll thank Felix. Unless Felix, you're watching, then you already know. But so I appreciate it. Yeah, it's very nice to always have somebody new willing to come on and talk about art. And I can tell you guys, Doug has already told me that he looks very forward to talking about art and doing this. And I can always tell when people are like bullshitting me or nervous and just kind of saying it. I can tell you he's been very calm, cool, and collected even for his first time. Because I gotta say, Doug, a lot of people have admitted to me when it's their first time, they're kind of nervous at the beginning, you know. But yeah, man, you're cool, calm, collected. I love that. And yeah, Doug has told me that he's looking forward to talking to you all, and he loves to talk about art. So that's what it'll make for a great show. So I'm looking forward to it. So everybody. With that being said, let's get going. Thank you. Yes, indeed. Is this about art? Well, as I told Doug, I warned Doug, you know, it is about art, show and tell after all. But at its core, it's a lot more about the tell than it is about the show. Even though we all love the show, there's a lot of tell, as you all know. So Jason, congrats on winning the Hulk 180 page on Heritage. Oh, thank you. I also won the Iron Man first appearance flash. Yeah, thank you. And pre-game show, we won't see art until 30 minutes after. That's not true. We're getting ready to do it. In fact, well, no, it's true. Well, we're not going to do the art right now at this moment because, as you guys all know, how these show and tell episodes work. First, we want to get to know Doug. Since he's never been here before, at least not live. So we're going to get to know him by asking him, of course, just to let us know, Doug, a little bit of background on how you first found comic books, you know, what age you were and how you discovered comics. And then just fast forward to at what point and, you know, what age you might have been-ish when you discovered comic art for the first time and how that discovery led you to buy that first piece and start collecting it, you know?
Sure. I think like lots of people, I started reading comics really young. I think my parents gave them to me, let me read them to sort of get me reading. But really was an older cousin who sort of, you know, sat me down one day and said, oh, you got to read this and you got to read that, kind of in the early to mid 70s.
Okay.
You know, that sort of interesting period of, you know, more realistic comic book stuff. But I started, you know, with like Richie Rich and that kind of stuff and Donald Duck and all those kinds of things. But quickly realized I was really, really excited about it. I love the combination of the visual and the narrative. You know, it just sort of works for me, and it still has. I still love it, and I still find it really interesting. I find it an art form that, you know, people don't understand outside of this sort of little corner of the hobby, how unique it is in that manner. You know, one thing some people know about me is I actually collected contemporary art for a long time. And I sort of come from an art family. My parents were art dealers.
Oh, wow.
In the 60s. Yeah, in the 60s and 70s in New York before they
Fine
gave
art?
it up to get real jobs. Yeah, contemporary art, pop art, basically.
Wow.
Pop and minimalist art.
And they had a gallery?
They had a physical space for a while. They were dealing from our apartment in New York. Then they had
Oh,
a
wow.
physical space. Then they gave that up and kept dealing from our apartment. And then they kind of just
Okay.
stopped. It petered out because they needed to get money to pay for school and stuff like that. So they
Right.
had to take real jobs. Uh,
Yeah.
but they always collected then, and we were always going to various art things. My mother tells a million stories about wheeling me around as a baby, in Soho in the late 60s, early 70s, to various like crazy things. But to kind of come at your question from a different way. So I was reading the comic books and loving them, and also experiencing the contemporary art and contemporary art world at the same time. And for some bizarre reason, it never occurred to me that you could collect comic art, which, I mean, I was collecting art, right? I could have easily have sort of moved sideways into this, but I really didn't sort of start to buy stuff until I think like the mid 2000s, going to some shows in New York, mid like the 2005-ish to 2008-ish period,
Wow.
and getting some sketches, some small stuff. But I really didn't start buying until probably about 2010,
Wow.
2012, something like that, I
Interesting.
think.
Interesting, Doug, because you mentioned the first sort of range of years you mentioned, that was around the same time that Felix, who you know well, and who is the guy who told you that you should come and do this with me. That's when he also basically started. So you guys started at similar times. That's cool.
There's a real difference between collecting one and collecting the other. People sort of ask me this all the time, and I've sort of phased out of my contemporary art collection. I've sold a lot of it. I've just sort of kept the really important pieces to me at this time. And
Right.
focused much more on comic art. But contemporary art, for sort of lack of a better word, is cold. It has no kind of life to it like comic art does. Comic art, besides the story it's telling, there's like a story about the story it's telling, and there's a story about the people who are
A
telling the
narrative.
story, right? And it's a community. It's a really interesting art form that way, because of the people that are in it, as well as the actual art itself. And people who love contemporary art love it for that reason as well. But I started to find it really cold. I find that market really aggressive. It's very money oriented. It's all about money.
Right.
And while there's still some great art out there, I just kind of found like finding it among everything else in the noise was just sort of not a very happy experience for me anymore. And so, I think I bought one piece this year, as a matter of fact, like a smaller thing. But I'm much happier sort of in the comic art world. I find the people sort of more engaging. Although I have to tell you, I still go to Miami Basel every year because it's such a great party. It's
Okay. Really interesting.
yeah. I mean, for those who don't know, I mean, Miami Basel is a massive art fair in Miami in December, where it's kind of like San Diego in a sense. Everybody comes from around the world, and there's huge parties all week. And my parents lived in Miami for 35 years ish or so. So it was fun for me. I'd go down there and see my parents and my cousins and all that, and go to all this stuff and the parties and so on. So I still do go to that.
Okay. That's cool. So I gotta ask you though, if you don't mind, I want to sort of take you back a little bit. We'll rewind a bit. You mentioned that when your cousin got involved and telling you, hey, you should read this and that. So just to clarify, when you first started reading comics, are you saying that the first comics you were reading were like the Walt Disney type stuff?
Yeah, my parents were giving me those, the Walt Disney stuff, the Richie
Okay.
Rich stuff, like those things.
Okay.
My cousin was showing me, like the Green Arrow and the Commandy and stuff, like,
Oh,
which
I
was
see.
way inappropriate for like a young kid, but still, I loved it. And I still find that stuff like really revolutionary in a lot of ways. Iron Fist. I'm just trying to think back, like the mid '70s, sort of very sort of realistic stuff, and a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of it took place in New York. And I lived in New York at the time. I still live in New York,
Right.
but so I was sort of like walking around, thinking, oh, this could be down there, that could be over here, and the city was very gritty back then, so it seemed very true to life.
Yeah. Also, I should just tell you, Doug, just so you understand, you will see me from time to time even when I post messages, comments up on the screen, I read them out loud because there are plenty of people that they don't watch my show, but they listen to it as they work the next day, that kind of thing. So just in case you're wondering, like, why is he reading it? I can see it. I can read it myself. It's for those people, for their benefit. So they're not looking. So I've got to read out the comments. So just so you know. And with that being said, I wanted to put one up here right now. Mike Snitzer mentions that I had the same issue, slow on the uptake. I collected comics in the 90s, but never dawned on me to buy art. Not until I tripped over online auctions, Comic Link and Heritage in 2018, Yeah, so yeah, quite a few people have a similar story. But Doug, what I wanted to ask you actually is, okay, so you were reading, you started getting the superhero comics because of the influence of your cousin, right? Your older cousin. But at what point, at what age, what point in your life, given what you collect in the comic art hobby, at what point in your life did you get into reading the underground and the really indie type stuff? How did that switch sort of happen?
Yeah, so I would say I really read Marvel, DC, and Disney type comics all through the 70s into the early 80s. And that was all that I read, basically. And I read a lot. I have, huge boxes of that stuff, which sadly, my parents' house burned down in 2012. So nobody was hurt. It was all fine, but all that stuff is gone, unfortunately.
Oh, thank God. But all that stuff, everything burned up.
Those didn't burn, but they were waterlogged. You know how a fire is. Yeah. And everything's ruined.
Yeah.
But what happened was I went to boarding school, I think in like 82, 83, right at the time of the indies boom. And when I got there, a lot of the kids were reading that stuff. And that's how I got really introduced to it. And then I was in Vermont in kind of a small town at boarding school, but we'd go into sort of a small city every weekend when we were sort of let out to go have fun. And we'd hit the comic shop and I'd see all the stuff there. All of a sudden, instead of there being a spinner rack with Marvel DC, there's like 10 different things with all kinds of weird names, First and Kamiko and Pacific and all that stuff and all these crazy looking things. And we just, really lapped them up. I mean, it was a really exciting time, I think, in the industry. And once I kind of got that taste, I sort of never went back in a sense. I still read some of the titles that I liked. I still loved X-Men back then. The John Byrne stuff and the Paul Smith runs. I mean, love that.
Okay. I honestly didn't think that I was going to learn that tonight. I had this feeling, not that, based on anything other than just a gut feeling. My feeling was that you probably had read some superhero stuff first before the indie stuff, but I would have thought that you would have said like, oh yeah, maybe in the 70s I read some of, a few superhero things here and there, but then somebody gave me some of these sort of more underground and indie comics, and from that point on, I dropped superheroes. I would not have thought that that classic stuff like the Byrne X-Men, Paul Smith X-Men would have been up your alley, but look at that. We learn something every time.
I'm not so dogmatic. Like, everyone was telling me about Absolute Batman. So I started reading that and it's fantastic. And I love that.
So have you? Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But I found like, yeah. But like for using the X-Men as example, like I just can't follow it anymore. There's like 100 different strains and this and that. And like, and it's just not worth the while.
I couldn't follow X-Men anymore by the like 1991, 92. I was already like, okay, this is getting so out of control. Yeah, so I know what you mean. Yeah. X-Men were more edgy because of the subtext. Yeah, I guess, But see, the thing is that like you said, you started discovering all those like the first comics, Kamiko, Eclipse, I guess. But what I found really interesting as I was, putting the show together, gathering all the artwork, I started thinking it was funny. I gathered it all up, and then I started working on turning them into slides to put up here on the show. And as I was doing that, and I'm looking through them all back and forth, a bunch of times, I started realizing. I said to myself, "Wow!" Like I remember getting to a piece which is from First Comics, And I remember thinking to myself, wow, suddenly this piece feels really mainstream because of the fact that there's this underground stuff, which is, way more out of the mainstream, So any first comics in your collection feels like it might as well be X-Men in comparison to some of that, underground art,
Ruben, I feel that if you look at Invincible, that was really paved by sort of the alternative take on superheroes, that started in the 80s into the 90s. And that's just a fabulous title. And I love that and the show and all that. But I mean, you could just tie that straight back to some of the deconstructive superhero stuff that was going on back then.
Right. But let me ask you, when you started discovering, like in the 80s, you had, First Comics, Eclipse, Kamiko, and all those. Because to me, I do see quite a difference between that type of, indie stuff versus the fabulous Furry Freak Brothers, true underground stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So where along the way did the actual underground stuff sort of come in and hit you and appeal to you?
Well, that definitely came later. I think the Freaks were the first of it, like you say, and seeing the Freaks sort of in college and the Felix the Cat movie and Fritz the Cat, movie. That sort of introduced me to that. But I would say I didn't really get into that until much later, maybe like 10 years ago or something like that. But I think they're really two distinct collections in a sense. They're tied together because they're not mainstream, but I collect the alternative stuff because I really loved it as a kid. It's nostalgic for me, and I find it high quality. I think a lot of it's been not given the due that it really should have, highly influential. But I find the underground stuff more important in a sense. Obviously I didn't read it at the time. I wasn't alive, or I was very young as it kind of ended. But it tells a story, I think, that's really interesting to me about sort of, how the culture went and how comics moved in that time. And I just find that fascinating. And when you read some of that stuff, like, it's not a great read always. It's much more that the art and the fact that it was there and was happening is so important. Some, like you mentioned, the Freaks. I mean, Gilbert Shelton, I think, is the best sort of storyteller among that crowd, and Crom, obviously, and a few others. But a lot of it is you don't buy it for the story. Maybe you buy it for the art, but you really buy it for the importance of the fact that it existed. And also, I mean, look, I'm a collector. A lot of it was way undervalued, as I started buying it. And sort of those values have definitely started to catch up. But it was just a good place to sort of collect, put my money, and I like buying interesting things. And those were interesting things.
Right. Rick actually asks, how old was Doug when he read his first Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers?
Well, I'd like to say, 9 or something to freak everybody out. But I think it was definitely in college. So it was probably 18, 19, something like that.
Okay.
It was Idiots Abroad was coming out. I can't remember which issue or so. It's a 4-issue series, I think. And I remember getting one and then just like being so unhappy that I had to wait, 6 months for the next one.
Yeah. I always tend to ask this of guests on show and tell episodes, and I preface it, of course, by saying you don't have to tell if you don't want to. Don't feel pressured. Just curious, are you willing to let us know how old you are?
58.
58. Okay, so you're like 3 years older than me. Okay, yeah. And so wow. So by the time you were 18, so when I was 15, okay, so mid 80s is when you had started to read your first Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers. That's I probably discovered it around that time myself. I was like, what the heck is this? Oh wow, look at these guys smoking dope and shit. What's going on? You know what I mean?
Well, you couldn't buy it, right? I mean, because the comics code was still in effect, so you had to go to head shops or whatever, like alternate record shops or things like that, to buy that kind of stuff back then.
Right. And this is off topic, but I did want to get to it just because it was a kind of a curious comment from Tom. Tom asked, did Doug ever own an ice cream shop?
I know that's a Felix comment. I know Felix.
Yeah.
No, sadly, no.
I figure that's what he was doing, right? So
I'm not a retail guy. Retail's hard. I mean, Felix works hard. You could see.
Oh, no, I mean, that's I don't. That's why I'm always shocked. Like when he says, "Oh, I tune into your show and I can't. I just watch it from start to finish." Now he admits it's an obsessive compulsive situation there. Whatever, that's fine, But I'm just. I told him, I was like, man, but like every time if you stick around and watch for 4 or 5 hours, think about how many packages you could have packed and shipped, to get out. Yeah. So. Yeah, no, it's crazy. Yeah, it's. Hey, listen, it's kind of a good. It's crazy busy for him, but it's like a great problem to have type of thing, right? It's one of those things where don't look a gift horse in the mouth. So, yeah. Hey, Hydra, what's up? Evening all, just checking in. Doug has a great collection. There you go.
Thank you,
Hydra. Good to see you again. Rick says the counterculture. Yeah, well, that's what that was all about, right? The 60s counterculture movement, for sure, And let me see any other questions I forgot about. Oh, Marcus just was wondering, what about Omaha the Cat Dancer? I love that. I really got into that. I love it to this day. Haven't read it in years, of course, but how about you? Did you ever get into that?
Yeah, I love Omaha. I mean, somebody mentioned before that, there's a lot of, or some not safe for work stuff in my collection. And certainly Omaha is a whole there. I definitely think that's a really groundbreaking work, at the time, certainly to put that out there the way it was. And it was good too. And the art was good. The story was interesting. So, that was really, really good stuff.
Okay, look at Peter. Peter's like age question. Ugh. Peter admitted he admitted he was 63, so that's why he feels shit. Listen, we're all old. I mean, like none of us are really young, to be honest, like anymore. Okay, think about a hobby where like 99% of the people involved are in their 40s or older. Like, we're pretty old, all right? We're pretty old. So, and what did you see at the tattoo shops, Tom? I'm not sure what you meant by that.
The Freak Brothers, he's saying.
What's up, hey, Mikhail? Are we talking ice cream again? It's all about the cakes. No. No. It was a question. Related to ice cream shops, Kenneth Bird, what's up? Kenneth, good to see you all the way from Virginia. I make it sound like it's so far, but How you doing, Kenneth? And I don't know why are you telling me that I have a hacky sack? I never even had a hacky sack. I never had even one, I hated hacky sack people. In fact, it bugged me when I would pass by in parks and street corners and be a group of guys kicking a hacky sack around, kind of annoying, but I never said anything. Don't worry. I was nice. Retail has become really hard here. It's, I think you meant to say the people making it so. Okay. All right. Kind of out of the blue comment there, Tom, so I'm not really sure why you mentioned it. Tom, okay. Peter's now. I lied, Ruben, about age. Did you? Whatever, man. I don't know. Whatever. You lie to me. I don't know. I never know what to believe from you people. Doug, do you still live in the city? Michael asks.
I do. I'm not there now because obviously you could see outside the windows behind me where it's green. But yes, I live in the city. I still have my youngest child's in high school. And so I still live in the city where she goes to school, although she's going to graduate in a year or so. And I probably will move out or at least, downsize and sort of move somewhere else at that point.
That makes sense. I mean, once they leave the nest, right, it's kind of like, oh, now your house feels bigger because there's less people in it, right? It's like, it's natural to feel that way, Ice cream for ice cream. Stop being so square, man. A lot of Freak Brother counterculture fans here, supposedly.
Okay.
So excellent.
Good
Yeah.
stuff.
That brings us. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we get into the art sharing, Doug?
No, I'm happy to answer any questions people have. You know, I think happy to talk about the work.
Excellent. So you guys know how it works. If you have, questions for Doug, as always, just post them. And as long as they're not the idiotic, silly, nonsensical things, who knows? I mean, I may post them, as you know, I may still post them, but I will not wait for Doug to answer them. But if there's anything pertinent that I feel he should answer, I will make sure he answers them. So please do make those comments and ask the questions, whatever you want. Rick says, I dig that Doug likes John Sable. Well, how about me? I like John Sable. I haven't read it since the 80s, but I hope to eventually get around to rereading the whole thing. I love John Sable. Good memories of it anyways. I don't remember much about it, but I remember loving it back then. So
nobody knows Sable better than Rick. Rick is the Sable guru.
I don't know. I know. Yeah, we all know. We all know for sure. Michael says, "Congrats on the Knicks." I would say I never saw any Mannix in Doug's collection, but maybe he hasn't posted it. I don't know. Do you even know who Mannix is, Doug?
I know who Mannix is. I don't have any of Mannix work, but that's not because I don't like it. I think it's terrific. It's so unique. Just haven't got there. Well.
Yeah. And David Barr in Australia, another fellow John Sable fan. So that's very cool. Yeah. And Tom, John Sable was a great read. There you go. There you go. See, now you guys are making me like want to, dig into it. But it's overwhelming when you're already years behind on your reading and you have piles and piles of stuff that you haven't gotten to. And I got little free time after, spending my main free time on my show. And so what extra free time I have lately, I'm in movie zone. I just want to I'm digging into movies and got a little movie club thing happening with a couple of friends. And we're giving each other lists of movies to watch. And then we discuss. It's good fun. It's good fun. But that's where all my time is going now. I'll get around to the reading eventually, though. Hey, Alonso Collectibles. What's up, Luis? Mr. Mega Sketch Card Art Collector that he is. Good to see you, dude. Okay, so excellent. Since we have gotten Doug to tell us everything that we pretty much need to know about how he came into comics, how it led him to getting into artwork, I guess we can cue up the art and get into the show and tell portion of the show. And Rune is catching up on his Harrison Ford movies. I'm not, but sooner or later, the guys that I'm doing it with, this guy in particular, Peter, he's going to be forcing me to watch a Harrison Ford movie. Doug, I say that in case you probably don't know. He just happens to be an actor that most people in this hobby love, but I've hated him since Star Wars. So, and people, of course, they can't understand, they can't comprehend how that could be possible. But yeah, that's it. So they always make fun of me about it. Whatever, it is what it is, Sketch cards, I said. I didn't say sketches, Luis. I didn't say sketches. Sketch card. Thank you, man. Thank you. Good to see you as well. Thank you. We don't talk about movie club. Nice. I like that. And okay, so Rick says hating Harrison Ford is counterculture. Nice. Tiff is in the house. Welcome to Tiff. Are there going to be any snicked events? Cap guy seems super arrogant and would love an alternative that. Well, you already know about it, so clearly you should go and join his site. And best of luck to the site. I mean, Okay, so I am now going to cue this up. And Chris Sabo sucks. And Angelo is Ruben's new favorite musician. I don't even know who that is. A musician named Angelo? Oh my God. Wow. Oh my gosh. What? That's all I'm going to say. Excellent. Let's agree to not say anything else. And that's it. HNL. Nice. Vangelis. Nice. Autocorrect. All right. So yeah, let me get to. Oh, actually, just give me a second, guys. I just wanted to mention real quick. Just a quick shout out, first of all, to my newest subs, Blue House 176, Shannon Slayton. Everybody, I think a lot of you guys know who Shannon Slayton is, so that was pretty cool to see. How you doing, Shannon? If you're watching, and some anonymous amongst you, so welcome. And what I wanted to say was that this coming Friday, Nick Barucci on the EXP has. You guys who saw, or even if you didn't, this past Friday, he did Christmas in July episode, all right? And offering very, very cheap art for $7, $10, $12, you know, onward. And so he told me to let you guys know that this week he has Christmas in July Part 2 this coming Friday, all right? And so this link that I'm putting in there for you guys, that's the usual link I give you. For those of you particularly who watch on PCs or tablets, I guess. And I guess from now on, he's going to make it a pain in my arse by giving me apparently 2 links to give you from this point forward, right? Because I know that YouTube did this new thing now where you can stream a show that is set up for PCs, and then it'll look differently for people on their phones who want to watch on their phones. And because of that, I'm now going to give you, upon Nick's request, the second link. All right. Second link, it's to the same show this coming Friday, Christmas in July, Part 2. Except this one is for those of you who always watch on your phones. All right, this is the appropriate link to that. All right, so please check that out on whichever link, through whichever link that you want to. And let me see. And for those of you who may be new and don't know Nick, this is Nick right here. And so his show is The Original Art Experience, right here on YouTube, and it's every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. And this Friday, it is the Christmas in July Part 2. As you can see there, some previews of some of the art he will be offering. Okay, so please do check that out if you can. And let me see here. Let me cue this up. And we will get into the show and tell portion of the show and tell episode. All right. As Rick starts to sing, he loves to sing a lot, and leave us with lyrics. Winter in the summertime will keep you warm like a funeral pyre. Quoting Danzig. Okay. Quite a bit Soul Friday. Don't know what that's all about, but okay. All right. So let me see here. First. All right. You ready to do this, Doug?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. All right, everybody. The first piece in tonight's show and tell is a page from A Contract with God, particularly page 34 by the legendary Will Eisner from 1978. And this particular piece, for those of you who may be watching on your phones and can't see, like maybe can't read, it's basically it's a fantastic example for those of you who have any sort of knowledge about the anti-Semitism and the tropes, right? The anti-Semitic tropes. And in this case, this page is about the classic anti-Semitic trope about how, you know, non-Jews constantly making assumptions that all Jews know how to make money and they all have a lot of money, you know, so on and so forth. But yeah, fantastic page. And yeah, take it away, Doug. Let us know what you think about this.
This was something I really want. I really wanted something from Will Eisner. You know, obviously you could get sort of, you know, some of his very famous work, but I kind of focused on this. Um, you know, it's an early graphic novel, maybe one of the first, and it was really his most personal work. I think, like many of the old time comics creators, you know, Stan Lee and others, they all came from the Bronx, you know, a lot of people. And so did Will Eisner. And, you know, Kurtzman, like all of those guys came from the Bronx or, you know, Upper Manhattan or something similar. And this just was so evocative of that experience that it just really spoke to me. I really wanted to get it. And, you know, Will, his estate has given it out, and they're all sort of priced the way they're priced. So there's no negotiating. You just go buy one or you don't buy one. And I was sort of lucky. This is still around. It's 50 years old, and you know, it's a sort of a splash. And like you said, it really has kind of the point of the story in it. You know, about sort of poverty and anti-Semitism and slumlords and so on. Because all of this stuff, A Contract with God, is really about kind of a building in a neighborhood. And, you know, spoiler alert for something 50 years old, but somebody's daughter dies in here. And that's kind of the contract with God. You know, how could you let her die?
Right.
And then there's two other books that make up A Contract with God also. And one's about a building where you kind of go through all the tenants. And I kind of forget what the third one's about. I'm not sure I've even read it, but anyway, that's why I wanted it. There's some major guys out there who I really felt I needed in my collection, and Eisner was one of them. And I kind of bought this early on when I started looking at this type of work. I don't know, maybe 5 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe even more. I can't remember. But very happy to have it. And they actually sell at the same time Eisner's kind of working drafts, like his very close to finished drafts. And the one for this one actually had different words in the thought bubble. And it was sort of even more anti-Semitic in a sense. I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was even more like cutting to the bone. And Eisner sort of cut it back a little bit because I think he wanted to focus less on the specific words and more on the feeling, you know, about it and the relationship between these two. So, you know, that's really it. I really love that piece. It's up on my wall. I only have about maybe 15 pieces framed out of all the work that I own. One thing I learned is that contemporary art collectors don't get stuff framed because then you live with a lot of frames and it's hard to move the frames. So I really only put in frames things that I really want to see all the time. And this is up there. This is one of them.
Fantastic. David says, great page. Sadly, nothing has changed with anti-Semitism. Obviously, yeah, that's as the day is long, that's will always continue, David. Unfortunately, if it's like any sort of racism, right? It will always exist as long as the earth exists. As how I see it, you know. Peter says also, great piece, excellent choice, Ruben. Well, how can I not, Peter? But thank you. Yeah, congratulate Doug though. He's the one who made the great choice in adding it to his collection. So yeah.
Ruben, there's one more thing maybe I want to point out to that.
Yeah.
You know, and I mentioned it before, but there's a theme going through the work. A lot of it references New York or are people from New York or, you know, or talking about the comics industry in New York or something like that. And because I'm a native New Yorker, a lot of that stuff really spoke to me, like the Eisner piece, because those buildings, the slumlord stuff doesn't exist anymore. But
Right.
of course, I was alive when that happened. I mean, 1975. And so
Right.
it's kind of weird to think I was 30 blocks away or something, when the
Right.
scene he's describing perhaps was going on.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. No, it's good. It's amazing because it's a classic, legendary piece of work by a legendary creator. And not just that. I mean, that alone is a nice reason for many collectors to sort of buy a piece, from a graphic novel like that. But on top of it, the subject matter, the fact that you're a native New Yorker, right? And so you can relate to it even more than maybe the average person who isn't a New Yorker, Yeah. So yeah, no, amazing stuff, and happy to start off the episode with that one, and we're gonna be all over the map with this stuff, but everyone, from that Contract with God page by Will Eisner, we're gonna stick with the religious theme in a way, only in the sense that there's religious iconography in this next one. I haven't read it, so I don't know if the story has anything to do with any kind of religious undertones, overtones, whatever, what have you. But let's check it out. You'll see what I'm talking about. Here we go. It is Starslayer, number 14, the first page splash to the story by Rick's favorite creator, Timothy Truman. If you're wondering why I didn't write Timothy, everybody, I tend to credit the artists the way that they used to get credited themselves back when they created the artwork. So he goes by Timothy now. I'm aware of that, but he was credited as Tim, so I put it as Tim. There you go, Doug. Let's hear from you, buddy.
Yeah, this is an interesting choice. I'm not. Is this Starslayer or is this from Grimjack? I can't remember because Grimjack started as the backup story in Starslayer, but it kind of doesn't matter. Tim wrote both of them, in a sense, or drew both of them. But again, this is some of the early '80s art. I found Starslayer and Grimjack and all that stuff so dark. I loved it. It really appealed to like the part of me that wanted to see crime and violence and other stuff in these books. And this is a great piece, right? She's up there on kind of the cross-like iconography, being filmed and sort of being tortured and all that. And you can sense like something bad's about to happen to her. Yeah. I think, I have a bunch of Tim's work, a couple pages, I think, across like a number of his books, because he also did Scout, which is one of my favorites as well from the early 80s. Grimjack and Starslayer here. Like everyone is always snarling in his work, and I just love that basically. But look at also the guys with the trident forks and all that, and all that. I hadn't really associated this with the religious iconography until you just mentioned it, actually, because to me this is violence and filmed violence, and again, very sort of early '80s type of feel to it, and that period kind of came and went, right? I mean, Starslayer, Grimjack, they all went for like 30, 40 issues and then sort of petered out in a sense, or went off to other creators, which just didn't have the same bite to it. So it really, to me, again, like brings out a time and a place where people are pushing boundaries. You still might not see something like this even back then in a DC or a Marvel book. But it's great. I think Tim's really an underrated guy. He went off and did some weird stuff. He was hired by the Grateful Dead to write the Grateful Dead sort of comics story.
Okay.
And he's still alive. He's in Pennsylvania doing something. And I've had him do a couple recreations for me of pages that I really love, and it's great. I think he's terrific.
Tell me though, Doug, why is Rick saying, "I own this page now"?
Did I sell this to you, Rick? I might have. I can't even remember. It's possible. It's very possible. God. Maybe I should.
And then you forgot. I was going to say you forgot to remove it, to take it down from your site. But not only that, because it sounds like, yeah, you're not even sure that you actually sold it at all. You're not even sure you're not the owner anymore, you know?
It's possible. I've sold Rick. Rick and I have done, some business. I've sold him a bunch of stuff. Like I said, Rick and I have very similar tastes in some areas, and but I'm glad that it's with him. If not, what I've done is, as I've kind of, this stuff is hard to find, right? A lot of it doesn't exist anymore, or it's buried deep in people's collections and won't come out until they pass away, or
Right.
so on. And you're seeing that with the underground now. You're seeing the stuff starting to come out because some of those people are passing away. But as I see better pieces, I'll sometimes release some of the other ones I have, because again, like, I know people want to have it, and I can use the money, of course, to fund another purchase and so on. So rather than just accumulating, piece and piece and piece, I'm sure what happened there was I found better sort of Grimjack or better Truman pieces and sort of let that one go.
Oh,
You should ask Rick to comment now.
you froze. For me, you froze for a few seconds there, Doug. I hope it was just for me and that you didn't freeze for everybody else. So I didn't hear the last maybe 5 seconds of what you were saying.
Oh, I was just sort of kidding and saying maybe you should have Rick comment on this piece now.
Both of us. Okay. Doug, did I freeze up for you?
Yeah, you just froze for me for a second, but
okay.
Now you're back.
Okay. Yeah, I just I keep forgetting I got to take my VPN off. It always interferes, so it's off now, and so we should be good the rest of the way. Okay. So fabulous. Yeah, and you mentioned that you had a lot of Tim Truman art, indeed. But I always say, if you love the art, I don't see anything wrong with buying, going deep into an artist. I mean, if that's what you love, why not love a lot more of it than less of it, right? That's my motto. A lot of guys think it's more like, oh yeah, why do you have to buy so much, and then, oh, you should only have a couple of pieces from every artist or whatever. It's like, well, no, that's what you should do if that's what satisfies you, if it satisfies you, then satisfies you that way, then yeah, sure, whatever,
Ruben, I think for me, like many people, I just sort of started and I would buy a little bit indiscriminately. Whatever I saw I liked and it was appropriately priced, I would buy it and be happy to have it. I've really tried to be more disciplined over the last couple of years and buy
that's important.
Higher priced but better pieces and sell off, some of the other ones, because I mean, what am I doing? They're in my drawer, and look, I've just been selling off my other collection. I kind of know what it is to accumulate, have, and then get rid of a lot of stuff. And sometimes the stuff starts owning you, as much as you own it. And to me, I really sort of passed that point where instead of having 10 Trumans, I'd rather have 3 amazing Trumans.
Oh, sure. So, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely.
It's kind of the wall test. Is it something I'd put up on my wall and be happy to see, even if it's not up there? But
right.
Otherwise, why have it?
Yeah, well, look, that's the thing, right? It's like, I'm saying, if it makes you happy to buy 100 pieces over time of a given artist because you love their work, and because oftentimes when people do that, myself included, I just love the work. Other times, I love the work, but also I remember reading the stories, and so it's both in part, and then eventually, a lot of people that I know that have done that, they go deep. Eventually, it's kind of like you said, Doug. Things change, tastes change, and you get older, and then you realize, I don't need that many. I'm going to whittle this down, right? And so let me try to find some new homes for a lot of this stuff. That'll keep some, I'll keep my favorites. So I'll still have more than 1 or 2. I can keep a few, but I don't need to have the 100, let's say. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
absolutely.
Okay. Excellent. All right.
Ruben, somebody's going to call me out because, of course, there are a few artists that I do go very deep on, and you can easily see that in my calf.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. But it's okay. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with it if that's what you love. That's okay. Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna cue the next one up. Okay, so I knew you guys would all really appreciate this because after having the first two pieces having something to do with religion or religious iconography, I knew that this would be a perfect segue. So I want to show you all this wonderful, memorable piece that I do remember from back when it came out. It is the cover to the Horny Biker Sluts. Horny Biker Slut. Sorry, everybody calls it Biker Sluts, plural, but it's not. Horny Biker Slut Comics. Number 7 by John Howard from 1993. I remember this cover. I remember, quite a few of the issues. I never bought it. I will admit, I never bought it. I just thought it was just too wacky and crazy and way too out there for me. But it's like a good fun memory because I remember at the time thinking, man, I can't believe they make this stuff and that it's still viable and that people like they can sell enough of this stuff in this the current market as of that 1990, 92, 93 to make it viable. Yeah, I just thought it's pretty wild, and I figured I'd show it. Why not? The complete opposite, really, of obviously I was being facetious earlier, but the complete opposite of a contract with God, right? So that's why I just wanted to show it.
There's religious iconography here. Look at, she's wearing a cross, isn't she?
She is wearing the cross, exactly. Yeah.
This is, first of all, I love this piece. I just love the way it looks. I love the colors of it. Everything about it. The skull in the top left, sort of looking down at her, right? And then the middle finger in the comics code fake approval thing up there. Everything about it, I think, is fun and well done and really interesting. I mean, like you said, I kind of read this back when it came out. I guess it's early 90s, late 80s, something like that. And, these are like the kind you keep under your mattress, right? You don't show other people. And I have more to say about this, but I'd like to give a shout out to Bill right now because he's running a site where you can put up anything, basically, and it's really up to the taste of the people. There's no real censorship on it, as far as I know. A lot of places might not like something like this up there. But it's part of the genre, right? I mean, it really is. And people read this, at night with their, under the covers where nobody could see them and that kind of thing. And again, it was just amazing to me that you could put this in a comic and sell it in a comic book shop back then. I found that astonishing. And
that's basically what I was saying, Doug. Yeah. I mean, that's what I was saying. I mean, it's funny because I did, we talked about Omaha earlier, and they had that, and that was basically XXX. But the thing about Omaha, for me at least, the way I looked at that, the difference was that if you actually took the time to read Omaha, yes, you had XXX. It was hardcore sex in it, but that was in addition to the fact that it was also this ongoing soap opera with murder, intrigue, politics, and what have you, But, Horny Biker Slut comics and, a lot of similar type comics that were coming out at the time. I mean, if you tried reading them, they're not quite the same. You know what I mean? If you get what I'm saying. So I did find that a lot more shocking to see that this could be put up, in a comic shop and sold. Because at least with Omaha, you remember with Omaha, the XXX stuff was always on the interiors, never on the covers, right? They were always very, very demure. They always had Omaha being demure on the shown as very demurely on the covers. So to have topless ladies on with shotguns and motorcycles on a cover, that was pretty shocking. Like I couldn't believe it at the time, you know.
Well, like you said, I mean, Omaha's a complete story in a lot of ways,
Right.
and it's a comic that a lot of people would read without the nudity, but it's it's drawn by a woman, and I think that has a lot to do with how people saw it in the '90s and how it's perceived, and this is obviously much different. Hey, John Howard's work is male id, right? It's like way out there, and that's why I wanted to have it. When I put this up, I kind of, should I do this? Should I not? It's such a great piece. I thought I got to put it up there, and I got a lot of messages from people, not comments, because I'm not sure they wanted their name associated with it, but a lot of messages from people like, "Oh, thank you, this is great. I love this stuff." And I communicated with John. I mean, John's still out there. I urge people go to his website, buy his books. The art is extremely inexpensive. If you'd like a piece, and everyone is like horrible, in that sense. Like everyone is sort of worse in a sense than the other in terms of modern sort of feelings about treatment of women, perhaps, and all that. But that he's making a social commentary in a sense, like let's just have fun and all that. And I just find the work, like the drawing, just fabulous. So.
Yeah, you know what? Even today, right? Like I just don't think that today's comic book market would support stuff like this. Maybe I could be wrong. I just my gut feeling, right? It's a different time than when this was coming out 30 some odd years ago. But I will say, I don't have anything wrong against or think there's anything wrong with collectors who buy this type of stuff, in the sense that it's kind of like what you said. Even today, I have no interest in owning a piece, but I don't mind showing it here tonight because it is more so for me a snapshot, social commentary, a snapshot of the times of when it was being published, right? I don't think like some people, then there are people in the hobby and outside the hobby who would look at that and think like, or assume immediately that, oh, you must be some kind of weirdo creep, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, maybe I am.
No, but you know what I mean, right? Like it's that you'd get automatically pigeonholed and unfairly, like I said, it's what's wrong with looking at things as social commentary and for the purposes of history. You're looking at it as a piece of history. So yeah, you just gotta stick by your beliefs, and that's it. And when people they want to be offended, and so they'll pick anything to be offended, just stand by your beliefs and explain to them why, you know what I mean, what you're doing, and not that you're some animal misogynist just because you have that piece of art, you know what I mean? So,
well, look, let's not overthink this. I mean, many people buy this, men buy this because it's hot and they like it, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But John did this because he wanted people to be offended. I mean, he'll tell you that straight out. That's the whole purpose of this, is to entertain and offend. And look, at the time, like you said, 30 years ago, it was a different time. Fantagraphics had its Eros imprint. Like these books, and Penthouse had a book out. I mean, early to mid 90s, there was a lot of this work on the market. And there's not enough people to, I think, support it as kind of an ongoing thing. And some of the work really, is not very good. But this, to me, like if you want something from that time, from that market, this, Manara, like others, are just fabulous. And like you just said, I don't censor myself. Like what I like, and people don't like it, they can go to hell. I don't care. Well, that's it. I'm too old for that crap at this point, right?
You don't like it, you stop looking at it. You know what I mean? Simple as that. We all have a pair of eyes. You can avert your gaze or keep looking.
Black Kiss, yeah. Look, people are kicking him out now. Black Kiss and others. Yeah, I mean, some of the work's fantastic.
That's it. So, okay. The next piece, what are we going to do here? Yes. Oh, yeah. So this is quite fun. A rare piece of art by this artist. You guys, when you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But really fantastic. And it's an homage to the work of another legendary illustrator. So check this out. I've got two. It's wide, so I got two pieces to show you, the black and white and the color. So check it out. It is from Breakdowns, which is a book. It's called Breakdowns from Mouse to Now, a book published in 1977 by Art Spiegelman, featuring his art. This particular piece drawn in 1973, though, so that's why I dated it that way. And of course, some of you may or may not know, the homage is to the work of the late Rube Goldberg, who did a lot of illustrations just like this. I don't want to say anything else about Rube Goldberg. I would say if you're interested and you think you're curious about this, do a Google search on Rube, R-U-B-E. That's how he was known, Goldberg, and you'll see what I mean. Do it like an image search, and you'll find a bunch of these. Or go even to the Heritage Archives. They have had some in the past, the original, you know. And yeah, here we go. Show you the colors, and then I'll go back and forth between the two as Doug talks to us a little bit about this.
Yeah, I love this piece. I have to say, it was done in 73, and Breakdowns came out a couple of years later, 77, 78, something like that. Breakdowns is sort of like all of his work being collected up to that time. To me, the four best artists working now are Spiegelman, Crumb, Klaus, and Ware. And I'm sure people will, those are fighting words, but that's how I view it. And Spiegelman doesn't make a lot of work. He never did. And of course, his masterpiece Mouse, he's never sold any of. So finding and getting his work is very difficult. And I feel very fortunate to have a couple really great pages from him. But looking at this one, I mean, like you said, it's an homage to Rube Goldberg. And there's a lot going on here, not just like the actual things on the page. And it's early anthropomorphic work by him. Mouse, of course, was mice and dogs and cats, right. Looking at the Holocaust. And look what we have here, right? Cats, dogs, and mice. And this is way before then, which is one of the reasons I immediately liked the piece. But when you start going through it and kind of what's going on, it's like all of his work, it's very personal to him. And you see right at the end, the guy commits suicide, basically. Life is meaningless, that kind of thing. And Spiegelman's wife, Spiegelman's mother and his father were Holocaust survivors.
Right.
And they found each other after the war somehow and came to America and had Spiegelman art, which is the basis of Mouse. But his mother killed herself. She could never get over that trauma. And so a couple of years before this piece came out, that had happened. And you can only really read this as a reference to his coming to terms with that and kind of, how do you live in a world where those things happen, where life is meaningless in a sense and all that. Spiegelman's a funny one. Like, he didn't have a style in the same way, like a Crumb is easily identifiable as a Crumb or Kirby and so on. He was a little bit all over the place until he found Mouse. But his style is really his personal story in a sense. Like that is his style. That's how it's him, is sort of reading through it and you're like, oh, okay, it's depressed and there's cats and dogs in it. Okay, that must be Spiegelman. And so I really love this. Was the first Spiegelman piece I bought, and actually I'm not sure, like I may have the years wrong, but I think Spiegelman may be actually the first piece of comic art I ever got, or maybe the second, because I went to a book signing when the first volume of Mouse came out, the collected volume, which was in the early 90s or so. And I went to bookstore in Soho and stood in line with my book, to get it signed. And he drew a little picture of himself as a mouse, basically, and smoking a cigarette. And I was sort of tongue tied, like, what do you say to this guy? Right. And that was, I think that was the first, it was either that or I got a Cerebus picture drawn into one of those phone books that Dave Sim used to make around the same time. So it was one or the other was my first and second piece. And I actually saw Spiegelman a little while ago. I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months ago.
Oh wow.
Crumb was being interviewed when his latest piece came out in New York at a place, and I was sort of standing in line to get in, and there goes Spiegelman walking right by. It's just amazing to me sometimes that these people still exist in the world. It's like if Jack Kirby were still here walking around or something like that, that you can see Crumb. I mean, Crumb is still alive, still doing work. He's in his mid-80s or so. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I was gonna say like how old these guys are now. I figured like it had to be at least mid-80s, right?
Yeah.
And that would go for would that also go for Spiegelman, or is he younger? Yeah,
I think he might be a couple years younger than Crumb,
but not much,
he's still 80, late 70s, 80, something like that. Yeah. I mean, for those of you who don't know, I mean, Spiegelman then put together a very influential book called Raw, which was a alternative sort of anthology that came out, I don't know, every 3 months or so for 5, 6, 7 years. And I mean, everybody that I knew in New York and other places were reading that as soon as it came out, and that's partially because Mouse was being serialized in that. But and he does New Yorker covers now. His wife actually is I think the cover
still doing
editor
New Yorker
at the New Yorker. I don't know if he's still doing it, but he was up until just a couple of years ago.
Really? Wow, that's impressive, man. That's impressive. And by the way, Doug, Rick is confirming Crumb now is 82, actually. And Tom is confirming Art is 78.
Okay.
Yeah, so thanks, guys.
Well, I'm glad they're still around.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know, Corey, what's this all about? Tell me, I don't know if he's joking or this is so out of the blue. Corey says, Doug also has a Van Gogh. I don't know what he means by that. But any idea? No, you're as lost as I am.
I wish.
I don't know what you mean there, Corey. But hey, he says look in the background. Okay, let me just quickly. The screaming man is there. That which is not Van Gogh. That's Edward Munch. You mean Edward Munch? Yeah. Edward Munch, baby. Not Van Gogh. Bad. You brush it. Corey, time to brush up on that fine art, baby. That's why you threw me off. Had you said Munch, I'd be like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention it, That's funny. But yeah, great piece, Doug, man. I love that. Yeah. Really cool. And like you say, Spiegelman, you don't see his art. Like he has, to my knowledge, he has never sold anything from Mouse, to my knowledge.
Yeah, there's an apocryphal story, meaning I don't know if it's true or not, but around the same time, like the early 90s or so, whenever he finished Mouse, maybe mid 90s at that point, there was a show, he put up a quick show at MoMA, like in sort of one of the smaller rooms, and they had all the original drawings from Mouse, and they had all the original tapes of him interviewing his father and all that. It was fabulous. I went to see it. And I heard around the same time, after the show, MoMA said to him, oh, okay, this is great. We'd like to buy it, And they kind of figured, well, we're MoMA, that's great. He's obviously going to want to sell to us. And he was like, no. They offered him $1 million for the whole thing in 1995 or so, and he turned it down. That's the story, at least.
The story. So even that's not confirmed, but so that would have been $1 million for Mouse 1.
No, all of it, like every page. It's a long thing, of course, but it's still a lot of money back then.
Yeah. The funny thing is that it was a lot of money, but keep in mind that back then, in the first half of the 90s, Sotheby's and Christie's both had comic art auctions during which certain comic book artwork went for tens of thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? So having that many pages of not only comic art, but a Pulitzer Prize winning piece of comic art, you know what I mean? I could see why he would have maybe said, no, not interested or whatever,
It's one of the great mysteries of this hobby is what is he going to do with it? Obviously, he can't take it with him. I guess he has one child. He could leave it to her. But then what's she going to do with it? You know, if you're not going to give it to MoMA or something, like, or what are you going to do? So who knows?
Yeah, exactly. You never know, especially as you getting on in age. You're kind of like, wow, I hope there's some plan in the will already set out just in case. But okay, excellent. Love to see that. And the next piece we're going to show is a fun artist whose work I've always enjoyed, and it sticks with the horny biker slut-ish in the sense that it's woman-centric, but it's not as hardcore. I actually don't know what the story's about, so I'm hoping, Doug, that you would give us a little background on this if you've read it. But here you go, everybody. Check it out. It is the cover to the Divided States of Hysteria. Great title, by the way, by the modern day legend Howard Chaykin from back in 2017. Yeah, man, is this something that you read before you bought the art, Doug?
I did read it. I really enjoy Chaykin. I mean, he's a little bit nutty, Uncle Howard. He's a great follow, by the way.
Yeah.
If you want to on social media. But I find the work now, some of it appeals to me, some of it doesn't. This particular series was his reaction to sort of the anti-Muslim hysteria post 9/11 and kind of the overreaction of the security state, and then the overcorrection against that by sort of the left and just the general fighting about all those issues, and he was obviously intentionally trying to be very provocative. This is not the cover, but one of the covers was withdrawn, actually. Image took it back after it went out. It was of a woman in a burqa, so covered head to toe. You can only see her eyes, but as a suicide bomber, I think, or something similar to that. And there was such an outcry against that they actually pulled it back. But this particular series, it's sort of similar to a lot of Chaykin's work. There's like a secret agency type feel to it. They're trying to find like who put off a bomb in Washington, D.C., I think, or something like that. And there's a whole cast of weird characters in that, some of which are sort of gender switching, which has been a focus of his for a long time.
Okay.
But he was very much, I mean, just look at the tattoos on the woman, right? There's a Nazi symbol, there's a Star of David, there's all kinds of different stuff. And that, is really his take on that. I think the art was better than the story, perhaps, in this, but the covers were evocative. And when I saw this one pop up, I just grabbed it. I actually had, in terms of sort of how I collect these days, I had a couple pages from one of the books in here. But when I got the cover, I decided, you know what? I'm happy with the cover. And I put the pages out and I sold, I think, 2 or 3 of them or something like that. I do have a lot of Chaykin's work from other series. I think American Flagg in particular is hugely influential and underrated. Chaykin still comes to cons and is a crotchety old guy. I love that. I love his spiel. It's not like he knows me by sight, but every time I come up to him and I say, Howard, big fan, and he goes, "Oh, you're the one." He said that to me about 10 times at this point. And he always has a sign on his table for people coming up to get things signed, autographs, $20 or something like that. Star Wars, $25, because he hates Star Wars and hates the work he did on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that this, speaking of Star Wars, this past week, last week, I guess, there was a Star Wars page of his from issue 2 that sold on some lesser known auction house. It's some estate auction in I believe in Connecticut. They showed the picture of the home, a beautiful home, and it was an estate auction, and the person who lived there happened to have a piece of Star Wars art from issue number 2, Star Wars, and it sold for like $36,000 or $38,000, panel page. It featured Chewbacca really prominently in some panels, but the likeness wasn't good at all. It didn't really look like Chewbacca. Nice brush to get the texture of the fur, but the likeness of Chewbacca was not very good. So it's kind of funny. I understand why, most artists, not just Chaykin, right? Most artists do not like going back and looking at their earlier work because it's not as good as how they became much better artists later on over time. So I totally understand that. But let me ask you this, Doug. So I love beautiful women with tattoos if the tattoos are, in my eyes, gorgeous. Okay, like if I really like the tattoos, then I'm into it. If I don't like that tattoos, I'm like, eh. But so artistically, I have to ask. You obviously you bought it. Obviously, it's in your collection. Did it give you any pause at all? The fact that the tattoo art was not included on the original pen and ink work?
I hadn't thought about that until you put those up side by side, as a matter of fact.
Really?
Yeah, because I haven't gone back and read that
Okay.
probably since it came out, 10 years ago or something like that. No, I don't think so. I like the image on its own. It's evocative, and I certainly knew what it referenced and why it was there. And I was looking actually for a cover from that series because all the covers were really kind of crazy. And like I said, one got him in a lot of trouble. If people want to Google that, you'll see all the stories about it.
Right.
So that was kind of, when I saw one pop up, like I said, I just grabbed it. And this was one I collected as much about sort of the emotion and the story behind it as opposed to just the art and the actual story in the piece itself. It's not his greatest work at all, but I think it really told an interesting story about what the world was like sort of back then. And, he was really trying to push the envelope there. It didn't totally work, I think, but he's trying, right? In a very sort of anodyne world, he's not afraid to put it out there, and I respect that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you on that. By the way, Sonny, I gotta post this. Sonny says, I saw him talking about Howard Chaykin. I saw him at Terrificon last year, and he called his mother a bitch, and I think he meant it.
I was there too. Maybe we ran into each other.
That's a funny comment, man. Wow. He's like everybody says, he's a different one, that Howard, MLB says, cheaper to pay Chaykin for base and add tattoos later. Now, you wouldn't want to pay him to add the tattoo. He wouldn't want to do it. I don't think so anyway. I would highly doubt he would want to do that. But interestingly, see, that's the thing, is that the fact that the piece doesn't have the tattoos makes me think that, well, there's only two ways that could have been done. Is he could have drawn that tattoos on a separate board to be digitally added later, or he just worked digitally and did the tattoos digitally. But do you know, Doug, or you guys in the chat, if he's well versed with the technology enough? Because I don't recall him being a digital worker for his art. So, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I doubt very much, knowing Howard a little bit, that he's facile with technology like that. It just doesn't seem like him.
Exactly.
I think, but he does work in panels now exclusively. So I would not be surprised at all if he drew the woman and then drew the tattoos separately and then kind of pasted them on one by one or in small panels or whatever, something like that.
Okay. And Lee, how you doing, Lee? Lee says that if you read, I guess, his blog, then you know about his crappy childhood. I've never read his blog. So yeah, I wasn't aware that he had a crappy childhood, but I'm a little bit intrigued now.
Another New Yorker, by the way. Another guy from the Bronx, actually.
Yeah, for sure. And let me see. Marcus says that the newer stuff he pieces together. Yeah, I know that he pieces things together, in the last, whatever, 10, 15 years, whatever it is. I couldn't remember. I know that I've seen plenty of pieces, modern contemporary stuff, where he physically pieces it together, but I can't recall if he ever digitally creates stuff, So that's that's why I was just curious about that. So because I just wonder, like, again, I would love for the tattoos to exist on a separate board, and maybe you could somehow track it down and add it so that you have them. But if he created them digitally, then obviously there's no chance of having that anyways,
Let's email him. Let's do it right now. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, we could ask him. I mean, he answers immediately all the time.
And hey, my buddy Matt's in the house. Or did Chaykin leave the tattoos to the colorist? Well said, well put, Matt. That also could be the colorist, but either way, it would still be digital. So still kind of goes with what I'm saying. But yeah, so that'd be interesting to find out. And even Rick thinks that the colorist did them, and you're probably right. So let's see, anything else? Okay, hey, Steve Mussolino in the house. What's up, Steve? Okay, so let us go to the next piece, everyone. So let me see, what do we have queued up next? So, yeah. So we're going from Chaykin's tasteful nudity to something that, and I'm not well versed enough in the history of what I'm about to say, so I don't know, but it feels like this could have been a precursor to the advent of tentacle porn. Okay, the Japanese stuff.
I'm a little worried now.
It's very legendary, actually. Underground stuff. Check this out. It is the cover to Snarf #2 by J. Lynch from 1972. So classic underground stuff here, Doug. And now you see what I mean by the tentacle porn comic.
Yeah, I feel a little more at ease how you were describing it. So this came out. So Dennis Kitchen Sink Press kind of sold off everything he had a couple years ago, in a big sale, and I knew I really wanted to get something unique and special from that sale. And for example, he had a Crumb cover, which went for 250 grand or something like that.
Right.
A Crumb Zap cover, I think. But so I couldn't afford that. So I kind of, I voted my time, let's say, during the auction and waited till people, I think, were a little exhausted because it was just cover after cover and so on. And I'm not sure people know Jay Lynch, perhaps as much as some of the other more well-known guys. And this came up and I just grabbed it because it's both historic and evocative. And the thing about undergrounds, which makes it great to collect them, is there's a limited supply. I mean, there were only so many books, and a lot of them didn't survive. These all happened to be with Dennis, so he had a lot of work. But there's only so many covers. Maybe there's 50 underground covers in total, in the whole world. I don't know, 50, 60, something like that. Real underground, like, the 15 or so well-known underground people, sure. I mean, there's only, I think, 15 issues of Zap. There's probably 10 issues of this.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm undercounting it, but less than 100, definitely.
Okay,
so I knew I wanted to get one, and I knew I couldn't get one, otherwise.
But hold on, Doug. So just to clarify, those numbers you bandied about in terms of, what may be out there, are you saying that that's because the underground movement just didn't produce that many comics in total, or does it have to do equally as much with stories abounding regarding art being thrown out or destroyed or what have you?
Well, there's probably some of both, but the former is definitely true. Most of the books ran for 2-3 issues and petered out.
Right.
Some, a few of them, people got arrested or something like that happened and they just had to stop. But there's a few, that were more organized, like Kitchen Sink Press and a few of the other rip-off press that Gilbert Shelton was running. And
Right.
those, and of course, Crumb, whatever Crumb was doing, and Zap, those were the ones that ran further. I think there's like 18 issues of the Freak Brothers, something like that. It's kind of hard to tell because there's so many reprints and all that. But yeah, there's not a lot of material out there. And, a lot of it, as I sort of mentioned earlier, people bought whenever at the time because the underground artists needed money. I'm sure they sold them for $10, $25, $50 each just to get some money. And until those people pass away, they're probably not going to come out into the auctions again. So I really, really wanted like a prime early 70s underground cover. And I wasn't that familiar with Jay Lynch's work. I'm not sure I am fully even now. But I saw it, and it's just a great image, and it's right smack in the period where I really wanted to go, and it's in a well-known book, Snarf. So it was perfect. I bought a bunch of things during that sale. If you sort of were an underground collector or a fledgling one, it was a great opportunity to get some interesting product. So I probably bought maybe 10 pieces over that time, something like a lot of work, but that was the big one. And that was the one I wanted to get that, or maybe two or three others, like one of those examples of those covers. And I'm so happy I have that. It's up on my wall as well. It looks great up there.
Oh, great. Congratulations. Yeah, because Snarf is one of the most well-known of the underground comic titles anyways. So to get one of those, like, it's pretty, it's quite a coup, if you will, so it's amazing. Just wanted to let you know, though, Doug, our good friend Matt states that Million Year Picnic published an underground comics price guide back in the mid 80s. And there in that book, it said that there are over 500 from pre-78.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. I should have clarified, I'm limiting myself to sort of the group that was in San Francisco or New York, and certain titles and so on. But yeah, of course, there were hundreds of them. He's absolutely right. Little things. And I have a couple examples of those. I have a few sort of covers and pages from just random ones that I thought were cool or that I had heard of or whatever. But, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they were underground. So who knew, right?
Yeah. Rick also shares that a lot of it, I'm assuming the original art for a lot of it, he says, is in Europe.
That's true.
Yeah.
And there was less underground there, right? Heavy metal and others. I mean, it was more overground.
Yep, that's right. Robert says that then Larry Elmore, the fantasy artist, did Snarf Quest. Is that true? I've never heard of that one.
I don't know. It's funny, though.
But I'll take your word for it, Robert. Okay, let us continue on, everyone. And the next one we're going to take a look at is an indie book that I got to say, it's very contemporary. I've never heard of it, but the image just grabbed me. And I want to say, for those of you who who are familiar with the artist, the Greek female artist Danny, who goes by the name Danny, that's what this reminded me of. And so I said, okay, let me look at it, and hopefully Doug can tell us a little bit, if he has read it, can tell us a little bit about what it was about. So check this out. It is a page from, check this out, everybody. First of all, Luana Vecchio. I've never even heard of her either, by the way, Doug. So it's like I never heard of the comic book. I never heard of the artist either. And it's like, and it's recent. I was like, interesting, But yeah, I like it. So I thought I wanted to show it.
She's a very young Italian artist, and I had seen her work through this. I think if I had read something by her, she was at New York the last couple of years, either last year or the year before. She was at New York Comic Con signing stuff. And so, I think it was maybe last year. So she's very young, I think not more than late 20s at this point, perhaps, something like that. And she had, I think if I'm remembering the story right, like entered some work into a comiXology comicsology anthology, something like that. And she won some kind of recognition from that. And that kind of led to her being offered to do this. And this is an interesting book. It really kind of grabbed me. It's about kind of exactly what it looks like: bondage, a little bit of violence, female domination, and so on. I won't spoil this actually, because if people are, interested in reading that kind of stuff, it is a great story. She's very talented. Okay. She actually, there was enough of interest in it. She put out another series, a prequel to this. But the whole series is kind of like this, it's this kind of imagery. There's a lot of sort of leather in it and that kind of thing. And this was the very first page, basically, of the series, because page number 1 was, the words. There was no image on it. It was just, in fact, Image, I should say. It was Image published this, so it was Image. It's all of its titles and whatever. So this was the very first page, and she put up some art a couple of years back for sale, and a couple of them are covers, but I actually like this better. So I grabbed this, and very happy with it. I'd kind of forgotten I own this, so thanks for putting this up.
You're very welcome, Doug. That's so funny. You have potentially too much art when... Yeah, that is so funny.
But if people read the series, and like it, reach out to me. I'd love to discuss it with people. It's sort of, look, it's not for everybody. Definitely. It's exactly what it looks like.
So Matt says that it's like Kim Deitch meets Spain Rodriguez. That's interesting. That's interesting. Rick, of course, dropping some more music lyrics by the great Stevie Nicks. Oh, that's funny. And Steve says, this one isn't hanging on the wall?
No, maybe it should be. But look, I still have one child at home. So maybe when she leaves, the things on the wall will tilt a little bit more in the adult direction.
And remember, Doug mentioned 16, right? So it's like, it's gotta be careful.
I have file cabinets, that I keep a lot of the art in.
Oh,
and
you do?
One on the very bottom is marked, stay away, like don't open kind of thing. Yeah, and I mean, maybe the kids go in and look at it. Who knows when I'm not there, but
Doug, in my opinion, that has always been nothing more than an invite for a child to go in and check out. What could he possibly be hiding that he doesn't want me to see? I got to look at it.
My kids are used to it. I mean, again, they grew up in a family with a lot of art running through it, and so there was a lot of nudity, tasteful nudity, performance art kind of things. Okay. So it was never porn like that. It was much more either photography or painting or whatever. But so they're kind of used to it. There's a little numb to it, I think, at this point.
Yeah. And by the way, everybody in the chat, I kind of surprised not a single one of you mentioned whether you saw the look of Danny's art. That's what I thought it was when I first saw the thumbnail. I was like, oh, you got a piece by Danny. And I clicked it. I was like, oh, Luana Vecchio. Okay. No Danny. But okay. I guess we all see what we want to see or what have you. There's
a lot of strong women, I think, working right now, sort of in the alternative field, like Luana. She's a little younger, but Tula Lotte and, and a bunch of others, just very, very strong. And, they focus on erotic stuff and other things that really have not come out of sort of women in comics before. So it's great.
Yeah. Okay. I say strips are Danny strips. Nice. Greedy, you're in the house. Okay, excellent. So let me see. Yeah, I'm so happy now, Doug. I'm so happy that you've forgotten that you had that piece. I feel like, wow, tonight's episode has been worthwhile just for that, to remind you have a piece of art that you didn't know you had, I think it's excellent.
Well, I like the books. The art is evocative, but I actually bought it because I really liked her story. I liked her sort of vibe, and then her illustration of the vibe I thought was really unique and interesting. It's definitely going to be a little much for some people, and that's totally fine. But
Yeah.
I thought it was, like I said, very unique, and I was happy to have a piece by her.
Excellent. Yeah, it's very nice. Now, it's for me, when I saw it, I mean, I liked it visually, but I said to myself, you know, as I looked at it, I was like, okay, I wouldn't read this though, because me personally, not that it matters, but I'll share it with you all. I've not been attracted to the whole BDSM thing. In fact, it's the opposite. I feel like it's a turnoff. Like, so when I'm watching a movie and maybe there's a scene where, I don't know, maybe all of a sudden we encounter some character who's a dominatrix or something, you know, emasculating some guy. I'm always like, I don't know. It's a turnoff. I don't understand the sexual aspect of it or whatever, and why certain men get off on that and enjoy it and find it sexy. I don't understand it. So yeah, I just don't get it, you know? So yeah,
let's have a show of hands of who thinks Ruben should go into that field and investigate it more now. Please comment, okay? Comment yes if you think he should, and don't say anything if you think he shouldn't.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you.
This will be another show a few months from now.
Yeah. New career change coming for me, maybe. Ruben the masochist. Right. Rick says, gaming approved. Steel, gaming approved. Wow. Yes. Ruben the Gimp Master, I think you wanted to say. Yes and no, says Peter. What do you mean? What do you mean, Peter?
Yes, you should do more, and no, you know, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I think Ruben is already doing it. All right. Ruben the dominant. See, no respect. I tell you, I get no respect. And the kink off starts. 1, 2, 3. Nice. Sure, Ruben. See, nobody believes me, no matter what I say. MLB says, I like Doug. If someone gifted him an amazing cool mask, he might appreciate it. Are you trying to say somebody may be gifting him one? MLB?
Send it CO Ruben the Collector, Montreal, Canada.
Thank you. Okay. Let's keep it rolling, everybody. Let me see what we got next. Yeah. Okay. So tell me on this next one whether I remember this from this creator from the late 80s, because I was a teenager working at a comic shop, and the comic shop owner was reading a comic this creator was putting out at the time, and he just wouldn't shut up about it. He loved it so much. This is not that comic. I just never got it. I'll tell you what it was after we look at it and we talk about this first, though. Here we go, everybody. It is the cover to Ed the Happy Clown #1, first issue from 2005 by Chester Brown.
Yeah, I bought this fairly recently. I think maybe last year or something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I really love kind of the Joe Matt, Seth, and Chester Brown.
Yay, Canada.
Yeah, yay, Canada and Toronto. I mean, I love their story, the way they put themselves in it, and so on. Yeah, and Yummy Fur is really what Chester's known for. And now, of course, he's known for the movie that's out right now about him going to prostitutes and stuff like that. But Chet really never sells any work. These have been given away to people, and he sold sort of duplicates of things. And so when this came up, I grabbed it, and people were telling me, actually, people who sort of are into this stuff were telling me at that auction, they thought I really had done well, got a great piece.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But it's very early on. He's still sort of finding his style a little bit. He's finding his genre here. He's moved in the last 20 years into more historical books about Canada and sort of related stuff, following kind of, because Joe Matt and Seth always have done autobiographical things. and Chet really hadn't in the same sense, but he sort of brought it back to that now. But I owned some of Joe Matt's work, and I owned some of Seth's work, and again, like, you just can't find this stuff. So when it came, I just grabbed it. I had not read Ed the Happy Clown. I'd read sort of the Yummy Fur and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this is you see, it says a serialized reprinting of Chester Brown's first graphic novel. So this was printed in 2005, but it's actually from, like, I don't know, 1990 or something like that.
Oh,
like
really?
much earlier. Yeah.
Oh.
When the book came out.
Oh, I see. Okay. I did not know that. I just thought this was like a new series that he had put out in 2005.
No, he was way past this work. He was doing, I think, his Ed Real sort of Canadian history books then. But yeah, I mean, Chet is just, I think, a great cartoonist. I think all three of them are fabulous in different ways. Chet's sort of the more surreal of the three in a sense. And Mark's saying the movie was his movie just came out about him going to prostitutes.
Was it good? Did you see it?
I haven't seen it. I read the book. I thought the book was a little uneven. I mean, it's interesting, but it was sort of a one-trick pony, if you'll take the pun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's really it. I was super happy to get it. I still think Seth is doing amazing work, and I think Chet's doing great work. It comes out very infrequently, but I always read everything he puts out. I think it's great.
Oh, fantastic. And I wanted to just show you something really quick, just because you mentioned something. Does this look familiar to you?
Kind of. Like, I'm not sure exactly what we're talking about here. No, I don't know. No, sorry.
You don't recognize this?
No. Should I? I'm probably going to be embarrassed.
Not necessarily, but you mentioned the name of the artist who drew these pages.
Oh, either Seth or Joe Matt?
Yeah. So these are two Seth pages, early Seth.
Yeah,
pages.
gosh, that's amazing. Yeah, really early, huh?
Yeah, wow. This is from Mr. X.
Oh.
Yeah, the Paul Revache series.
That's amazing. Good for you. That's a great half, you know?
Actually, not good for me. I bought these last summer on behalf of a friend. I bought them for a friend because somebody had reached out to me, and they through my website, and they were local to me here in Montreal. And he said, "Oh, you buy art?" And he had some pieces, and I was like, "It depends what it is, whatever." And he showed me, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of interesting. Really early Seth stuff. It's not the stuff that people recognize Seth for, though, you know." But I have a friend who I know is into that kind of stuff and likes Seth's work, and I told him about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'd buy that or whatever." And so he made an offer. I made an offer on his behalf, and I ended up buying it on his behalf. He didn't want to spend the money on shipping, so he says, "We'll see each other eventually." And now it's almost a year later, and we will be seeing each other in September. So I'll finally be able to deliver these two Seth pages to him. In fairness, everybody, I also didn't get paid. I paid out of my pocket, and he hasn't given me the money for the art yet either. So yeah, so there you go. But
that's artist for sale right now. If people want to make offers to Ruben.
Let me see. Last couple of comments here. What? You almost got me believing it was adapted into Castle Freak? Dear Lord. Tom says, like this. Very cool. Is that early Seth? Hey, Mark, yes, the stuff that I showed. Mr. X. Yes, he drew Mr. X for a minute. About. Yes, indeed. Good guess by Matt. Yeah, indeed. Definitely finished the show on Rewind. Much more my style. No X-Men. Good going, Corey. Good night, man. Ruben jinxes it for the guy. Oh, whatever. Revenge of the Seth. See? What did I say about Rick being the best pun guy? Yes. Ruben got grifted. I did not. Good night. Okay. So yeah, fun stuff. And yes, to confirm, the comic book that my old boss at the comic shop in the late 80s, I think it was the late 80s, was all, all hot and bothered by was indeed what Matt had said, Yummy Fur. And he just wouldn't shut up for weeks and weeks on end every day. Oh, let me tell you, oh my God. Oh, I was reading the Yummy Fur. Oh my God. It's like, okay, enough, Dave, enough. Yeah. Doug, did you ever read Yummy Fur?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I sort of read it, I think, in the early 90s to mid 90s as it was coming out.
Okay.
I really liked that period of the autobiographical work. And certainly, I read Yummy Fur whenever it would come out.
Okay. Because I got to tell you, I just couldn't pay it any mind because when my boss was trying to show me, right, like initially, look at this, it's awesome. He showed me an issue where I could be wrong. It's a long time ago. So I don't know if it was just a few pages or if it was the entire issue, but what the imagery burned into my mind is that it was page after page of a guy who's taking a dump, and he's just the crap never stops coming out of him, and so the toilet bowl fills up, then it fills up the bathroom, then the whole house. It starts spilling out of a building. Does that sound familiar to you at all, or has it been too long for you?
Yeah, it doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, it's been too long for you then. Yeah, I was just like, why are you showing me this? I don't understand what I'm supposed to get out of this. You're not making me want to read the comic. I don't know, but whatever. Matt says that I was driving, so missed all those hellos. Oh, okay. Ruben became a furry. The SA issue. You mean the one that I described? Let me show you my yummy fur. Yeah, that one. Oh, so Mark is confirming. Yeah, that was The Man Who Couldn't Stop is what it was called. Story from Yummy Fur. Hilarious. You see what I mean, Doug? Even Mark thought it was hilarious. Okay. And I never read it. I was just so taken aback by the imagery. I was like, why would you be showing me this? Telling me it's so amazing. It's a guy taking a dump that never stops, Yeah, no courtesy flushes, apparently, Sonny. Maybe he was holding it in style when he went to a convention. Yeah, sounds familiar. Sounds like a crappy comic, Robert. There's a good pun. I like that. Thank you. That is strange AF. Yes, CJ, exactly. Traumatized Ruben for many road trips to come. X-Men greater than X-Lax. I don't know. It depends who you're talking to, I suppose, But okay, everybody, let us see what we have next. Yes. Oh, we talked about this earlier. Let's get right into this. This is a funny story. I've read this story. And this is by the classic underground duo of Gilbert, Shelton, and Dave Sheridan. The fabulous Furry Freak Brothers, everybody. Here we go. From issue 4, page 18, from 1975. What's the full? Do you remember the full title of the story? The Mexican.
The Mexican Odyssey. Mexican Odyssey.
There you go. Yeah.
To me, this is their best story, I think.
Oh, is it really? Oh, interesting.
I think so. Okay. I think everyone probably has their favorite, but to me, this is where they kind of were hitting on everything. The story was funny. The art was terrific. It has all kinds of different genres in it, in a sense. And I think I have one other page from the story too. But when you look for Freak Brother pages, you want all three of them in it, of course. You want drugs or some kind of drug reference or a pun, sure. And you want the cat strip at the bottom. Those are the things you look for, and this hit it all, definitely. For those who don't know, the Freaks decide to drive down to Mexico. I think it starts with them blowing up their apartment or something. So to get out of paying for it, they decide to leave and they go to Mexico. And as soon as they get into Mexico, they start getting arrested for various drug things. And here, Fat Freddy's trying to figure out a way to get him out. And ultimately, that guy at the bottom, Don Juan, gets them out of jail, and then they run off and like do some other stuff. And anyway, it's really funny, I found, and the art's great. And of course, well, not of course, but sadly, Sheridan died right after this. So there, Gilbert used another person, Paul Mavrides, to help him on later ones. But if you want work by Gilbert and Sheridan, you have to get it pretty much this issue or earlier. And there's just like the very classic Freak Brothers to it. The later ones with Mavrides were a little more polished, I feel like. Not bad by any means, but if you want kind of the 70s feel to it, this is it. And if anybody knows Sheridan's work, you'll kind of understand that. It's a little more psychedelic and the reason apparently that Shelton needed other people to help him is that the Freaks were selling so well, it actually paid for the other publications at Ripoff Press. So the Freak Brothers like covered, lots of other people's work that wouldn't have made it on their own, just wasn't financially viable. But the Freaks were so successful that Gilbert was able to be a publisher and put out a lot of other work by his friends and other people he found interesting and so on. So that's why he had other people help him on the books.
Yeah. And the reason when you see, it's an underground comic, but it's like so detailed, it's really, really detailed. For something that's cartoony, and Sheridan is the one who is more responsible for adding a lot of the detail, to the layouts, from Shelton, and Sheridan, you mentioned, he passed away not long after. Yeah, I if I remember correctly, I think Dave Sheridan was only like 38 or something.
Yeah, very young.
Really young. Yeah. That's crazy.
I think I mentioned it before, but some of the other undergrounds are not a great read, but they're important or they're interesting for other reasons. The Freak Brothers are a great read, of course, and that's Shelton. Shelton was just a fabulous storyteller. I mean, Shelton came up with all those things, and he, and then did the art and had help, of course. And he was also running the publishing company at the same time. And I think, talking about kind of these people still being with us, Shelton is still with us. Still, I don't think he's putting out Freak work, but he's still drawing. He lives in France. And I think he's having a show actually right now this summer at a big gallery there.
Oh, wow.
And well, everybody loves the Freaks. Like worldwide, everybody knows the Freak Brothers. And now with the Netflix animation, which by the way, I don't like. I find it sort of, I don't know. It's like the colors bother me. They're too bright. I wouldn't say they're garish, but it's kind of in that range. And to me, like the Freak should always be like down and dirty and dingy, and it just doesn't look like that.
Right. I'll have to check that out. And that's Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix has it. There's a lot of big names on it because, of course, everybody loves the Freaks.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, what is it? Is it a series?
Yeah, I think it's a second season now or so. I mean, somebody probably on the chat probably knows. I don't watch it because, like I said, I didn't really like it visually. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's been fairly successful.
If I can remember,
everybody loves the Freaks.
Yeah, I'll check it out. If I can remember, if I don't forget, I'll try to check it out later tonight after the show. Yeah, just at least to look and just see if I see the way you look at it, or if it looks okay to me. We'll see. I'm curious now. And by the way,
have watched it in the comments. Yeah, tell me what you think. If you agree with me or you think I'm crazy.
Matt is asking, do you own any Max Anderson Pixie art? By any chance?
No, I'm not really familiar with that. So
there you go, Matt.
Maybe I should. I'll look it up.
And he tells us that Sheridan died in 1982. I remember reading about it in a non-comic periodical. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he had brain cancer. It was not a good end for him.
Yeah, something like that. It was some kind of cancer that was really bad, whatever. Yeah. One of us. Yeah. Fat Freddy's cat. Okay, so Matt agrees. It doesn't look like the comics. Yeah. Which is kind of the whole point, right, Doug? Like if you're gonna translate that to television, animated, like make it look like, you know, it's the visuals that really people want to see. So yeah, now I'm really curious. I look forward to checking it out, just to see and have, you know, I'll give you my opinion after the fact, you know. It's a time travel deal.
Yeah, I didn't like that either. It's weird.
Okay, a time travel deal. Yeah, I don't like time travel in movies, or stories of any kind. CJ wants you to know that he loves your zippy strip, Doug, which I looked at for a long time. It was one of the pieces. I chose it, but it was one of the ones that I later cut to get down to 20 pieces. Yeah. But yeah, it's a cool strip. Again, everybody, use the link down below to go straight to Doug's gallery and check everything out. And let me see. And then Tom says that they take time travel drugs and wake up 50 years in the future. Okay. I'm more curious about the look, the visuals, than the stories. But yeah. All right. So from Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers, let me see what we're gonna go. Oh, so interesting. So I used to be very much into this genre, reading about these types of people. And I did not read this, but is now, I know this is very small and you guys can't read it, but my library card expired and I got to go renew it. And I'm going to see, I've got a list of a few books here that I'm curious about and I'd like to read. They've been on my you know, to find list for a while. And this one is one of them. And so yeah, tell us.
Ruben, I just wanted to show you they make larger versions of that. If you need.
I know.
It's okay.
I know. In fact, Doug, those are the originals, and these came after. And I run out of the big ones, and it annoys me that I only have this. I have to write so small, you know. These things were only good for, like, if we would have had these in high school, it would have been good for crib notes. You know what I mean? It's like if you have the ability to write really small. But anyways. Yeah, so here's the piece, everybody. Let me find it again. Oh yeah, talk to us a little bit about this. I hope you tell me that the story's really great, but be honest, even if you think it wasn't very great. Check this out, everybody. It is from a graphic novel, and it is called My Friend Dahmer, by Derf, Backderf, published in 2012. As you see there, everybody, this is an unpublished page. And I can tell you, because I have done research and I've seen the published page. It's very similar, but the background mostly has been changed. Yeah, man, Doug, tell us about this.
Well, this is a great story. I mean,
okay, great.
This is one of those books that I go back to every year or two. It just kind of stuck in my mind. It's so bizarre and. So, you know, Derf, for people who don't know, is sort of a well-known alternative comics person. He lives in Ohio still, and he had sort of comic strips in newspapers there for like 30 years or something like that before he started doing graphic novels. But Derf went to high school with Jeffrey Dahmer, as it turns out, and not just went to high school, was friends with him.
Right, and then Doug, sorry to interrupt you, but I just needed to know, because as I was putting the show together, and especially this piece, I was dying to know. Do you know if that's his actual real name, or is that like a pseudonym? Like, because you know, Derf, Backderf. I mean, I don't know what that means, but it seems fake. You know what I mean?
It is his real name, but I think it's his middle name and his last name, and he has another first name or something like that. I think I knew the story at one point. I can't remember now.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. This piece, Backderf, not Dahmer, Backderf, Derf hasn't sold any of the pages from this book, as far as I know.
No.
So the only way to buy it is to get these kind of, you know, one-offs. He drew this and then redrew it for the book, but he kept this and used it as a print and as an illustration marketing for the book, because it's such a great, like, Hamlet pose of Dahmer, like, you know, should I do these bad things or should I not do these bad things? For those who haven't read it, the book is really about high school, the two Derf and Dahmer and a couple other kids going to high school together, and it stops right before his first killing. So
Right.
it doesn't go into like that, kind of really unfortunate, very negative area. It's the lead up. It's the how did I not know this guy was going to be a serial killer story, or because Derf and his friends tortured this guy a little bit, in that high school way of kind of pretending to be his friend and then making fun of him behind his back. They were doing that. And they, later were sort of like, oh my God, did we kind of cause this in a sense to happen? I don't, for those who sort of, for those 10 or 11 people who read my calf gallery, I started writing much longer descriptions of the work and why I buy them and stuff like that. And I think this was one of the first ones because this book really stuck with me. It's like, yeah, it's 15, 14 years old. But I only got this page maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I think, or something like that, 3, 4 years ago. And I've reread this book several times since then. They made a movie about it as well, which is okay, but the book is really much better in a
Okay.
number of ways. The work is very kind of illustrative of the horror that's lurking behind I don't know what I'm even trying to say, the suburban situation here.
Yeah.
And Dahmer's off in the woods a lot, as you see here. He has kind of a little hut that he builds, and he does experiments on animals, tortures animals and so on. So anyway, that's that. But if you haven't read it, definitely go read it. It's not, if you're squeamish about violence, there's no violence in it. About it, it's really the lead up to the violence.
Right. Yeah. So I used to really love the trying to get into the minds of serial killers. And I guess
Wait. We got to start adding this up, everybody. There's the bondage, and then there's the getting into the minds of serial killer.
No. I said the BDSM stuff I wasn't interested, and this stuff I'm saying I was. But I got interested in as a young kid. I guess I don't know. Whenever the movie for what's his face? I'm blanking now. Sorry, I'm tired, guys. The serial killer, the good-looking guy. He was played by Mark Harmon in the early '80s. It was a TV movie. He was the guy who was known for killing co-eds. It was mostly schoolgirls, co-eds, like college girls. I don't know. One of you guys will tell me, anyways. Anyways, I that was the first time I saw Mark Harmon. Anyway, so serial killing is I got interested in that at that time, and of course, I also at the time I would hear about on the news, the Son of Sam, all these other famous serial killers from like the 70s into the 80s, and then so when Dahmer was doing his killings, committing all those horrific acts. I stayed on top of it through the television and newspaper articles, and then ultimately reading books about him and other serial killers. And I just found it very, very fascinating. And so when I saw that you had this piece, I was like, oh yeah, it's true. I forgot about that book. I'd heard about it years ago, and it slipped I said to myself at the time, oh yeah, I haven't read anything about Dahmer or serial killers in a long time. I should seek it out and read it, but then I forgot about it. So, like I said, I hope that my library has it. So I look forward to checking it out. They're usually pretty good about having these types of graphic novels. So we'll see. But I'm glad.
One of the things, Ruben, that's interesting is he wrote the book, in 2012, let's say, or whenever. That's when it came out. Derf's older than I am. I don't know, maybe 10 years older or something.
Okay.
So he graduated high school in like the mid to late 70s. So why did he wait so long, right, to write this book? And he talks about that in, I think, the foreword to the book or something like that. And it was so bizarre a story. And his feelings are so complicated about it because he was part of the story that he really felt he wasn't ready to write it until he was like about 50 years old and had written a couple other books. Then he went back to that material. And addressed it and started writing it. And apparently nobody wanted to publish it. And it kind of came out and, in a small published press or whatever. And then it got very popular and everyone picked it up at that point.
Cool. I'm happy to hear that you really enjoyed this graphic novel, man, because it gives me more excited about wanting to read it. So at some point. And thank you, all you guys. Yes, Ted Bundy was exactly what I was who I was talking about exactly. Yeah. You watched the Ted Bundy on Court TV or the Dahmer on Court TV? Is definitely no ma'am. Buying this for my brother now, says Steve. Nice. Is he like me? Always had a fascination with serial killers, Steve, or what? Why would you buy that for your brother? Ruben, they keep track of people who check these books out, do they? I'm going to be put on a list soon, as CJ said. There you go. Peter says, Ruben renewed library card. Going to watch Harrison Ford movies like serial killer history. Must be the negative universe. What can I tell you? You saw Dahmer on Court TV. Okay. Yeah. I guess the Ted Bundy trial, probably Court TV didn't exist yet anyways, I would think. All right. So excellent stuff here, everybody. Let us keep it rolling. And let me see. What do we have next? Yes. So this is another one that for the last couple of years I keep remembering. I've got it written down, and I wrote it down here again. Something I wanted to read. This next one, everybody. Mark was the one who posted art from it into his gallery, and it really intrigued me. Still haven't gotten around to it, but like I said, there's a bunch that I want to see if the library has first, and if not, then I may be ordering them from Amazon or wherever. But yeah, this next piece, check it out, everybody. It is from Santos Sisters, the first issue, #1, page 6, by Greg and Fake Peter. That's how you pronounce it. Pseudonyms. Greg Peter apparently is the real name. Fake is his partner, and he doesn't want to tell his real name. That's why it's a whole thing. But anyways, yeah, from 2022, graphic novel. Or not that, well, no. It was a monthly comic book or bi-monthly comic book, later collected as a graphic novel. So, yeah, I hope to read it soon. But yeah, in the meantime, Doug, tell us what you thought about this.
I might have seen this through Mark as well. I don't remember. Okay. But I really love sort of the comic-y nature of it, the kind of Archie vibes to it, the jokiness of the characters and how they talk and their relationship with each other and with the criminals and all that kind of stuff. And I really like this page because it kind of had all those characteristics on it. Has both of them, the two main characters, the sisters, has a villain, has them using their powers a little bit, and also just has kind of that jokiness to it, about, in sort of panel 3, she's telling the criminal, that's where you went wrong, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And there's some sort of in-jokes in here in the text all over the place, actually, which I won't point out, but people will figure it out, I'm sure. And that's really it. I just thought it was fun.
Yeah. That's what attracted me first. Obviously, it's the art style. It looked Archie style, obviously, homage to Archie style. And yeah, like you say, it looks like it probably would be fun. It's like Archie's for adults, Yeah, it's intriguing. It's intriguing to me, and that's why ever since Mark posted his art from it for the first time, that's why. Yeah, I've just been attracted to it. I'm intrigued by it, and yeah, hopefully get around soon to seeing if I can track down a copy and read it.
Mark should charge, for his recommendations.
Right.
He's out there doing all the hard work, and then
yeah, but
should make a subscription business or something.
Yeah, but at the same time, Doug, I also say he shouldn't charge, because on the very night tonight where out of all show and tell nights for him to be here, and as you saw, he was here, but he's going in and out. He probably has things to do. He's coming in, he's leaving, he's coming back, and we know this. And I'd like to call him out just to jab him, but I like to call him out for not hanging out all night with us. And the way I know he's in and out this episode is because with stuff like Santos Sisters anything that I mentioned that I learned through Mark, when I don't see any comment from Mark, that's how we know he's not in the chat right now. And so I'm calling you out, Mark, for not being here for the whole show. There you go. Hopefully you watch this on rewind so you see that I told you off. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, looks like fun. So is it so far, by the way, Doug, is it so far one collected edition and that's it? Is that all they have?
I don't really know. That's a good question. I know they've been putting out issues and they have collected at least the first bunch of them, but I don't know. It's not something I follow right now.
Okay. He did it for love. Interesting. There's a great Canadian song called that. Mark is here. Look at it. He just came back probably. I was at the Eisner Awards last year when Greg and Fake won an Eisner for Santos Sisters. But tell us, Mark, since that collection was from 2022, which means if they would have won an Eisner after that, it would have been in 23. But if they won it in 25, what are they winning for? What did they win for? For like another set of issues that came after this collection, like the first collection? I don't know. Let us know. You're the master on the Santos sister stuff. So, okay, I take it back. He says I've been here all the time. I just find it weird that when I mention you and we talk about stuff that you introduced me to, I find it weird that you stay kind of silent. That's kind of weird. I figured you'd be the first to start commenting. Okay, fine. I'll take it back. Look at that. Awesome. I love that when that happens. Steve says, order placed. Yeah, my brother and my cousin Katerina, yes, who has popped into the chat, both are like you when it comes to this stuff. Well, there you go. Awesome, man. That's very fun. Very, very cool. Great to hear that. And Rick says, that's awesome, Mark. Did you pick any Caroline Cash? Stick around and find out. I may have or I may not have. Bam, guilt trip. Get him, Mark. Hey, Mark's in stealth mode. Even Rick knows. They won for best continuing series. Interesting. So it's still ongoing as a, I don't know, monthly or maybe bi-monthly or something. Interesting. All right. Well, thanks, Mark. Very cool. Okay, that means there will be, if you enjoyed it, there will be more. If you're a collections reader like myself, there will be eventually more collections. So that's cool. Okay. All right. So we're going to go from Santos Sisters back to over to more indie art by somebody who we mentioned earlier. Canadian, oh, Canada. Check it out, everybody. It is the cover to Joe Matt's Peep Show #3 from 1992, published by Drawn and Quarterly here in the beautiful city of Montreal. Talk to us, Doug.
Well, now, if I had known we're going all Canadian, now I'm really upset that I couldn't get you that Cerebus picture.
That's all right. That's all right.
But yeah, I mean, it's so unfortunate that he died a couple of years ago.
Right.
He's such a unique character and unique author. I mean, anybody who's read his work kind of knows the trouble he's gone through and how just brutally honest he is about his life and his personal failings. But I just find his work really interesting. Like I said, super honest in a way that I think most people just can't do. And I kind of don't know what more to add to what I said before, but since he's died, the work has started to trickle out. There were a bunch for sale this weekend. But before that happened, you really couldn't find his work anywhere. So I was really, really lucky and happy to get this cover. I don't know when, a couple of years ago, not that long ago. And you know, he didn't write that little comment to me, by the way, the howdy.
Right.
Maybe he wrote it to the person I bought it from. But and there's not that many Peep shows, I think there are 15 maybe total.
Oh yeah.
And they're putting out a collected all Peep show this fall, which I'm
Oh,
definitely going to
cool.
buy just to read it kind of all straight through. I think it would be really interesting. I
So
wish
it'll be the entire series, Doug.
the entire run, all 15
Oh,
or so. Yeah.
oh, I love that. Yeah, I like that. I like when short runs like that are
Mhm.
put into one book, not like two books. So yeah, that's interesting. Maybe I'll check that out. So this is I guess like a lot of guys from this, in this drawing style, autobiographical, that kind of thing.
Extremely. I
Okay.
mean, to the maximum, as autobiographical as you can get. I mean, he
Okay.
shows himself on the toilet, and other sort of people who read it understand what I'm saying, and other sort of private scenes.
Yeah, that's funny.
And
And
he, by the way, he draws Seth and Chester into all these things. He draws them
right, right.
constantly.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, and I've seen a little bit of art with that, with all of those guys on the page as well. Yeah. And Matt says something that, yes, I learned actually, that he thinks he died at his drawing desk, and that's what I had read.
Oh my!
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah,
One thing I think that's interesting is he gives a very sort of morose and not angry but annoying image of himself in these issues. And after he died, Chet Brown finished the last one for him. It was all drawn, I think, and Chet inked it or maybe colored it or something. And Chet sort of said, he was actually a really funny and upbeat person. And Chet and Seth were actually the morose ones, and Joe was always like the funny one at parties and laughing and having a good time, which is really interesting because he did not portray himself or them in that way.
yeah. Ironic, I guess.
Well, it
Um,
shows you what was in his mind, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, and which goes great with what Robert says here. A lot of these autobiographical comics seem to come from deep pain, and yeah, that is true for sure. Very much so. It's a way. I've said it many times actually. When I've read on occasion these types of comics, it's a way, in my view, for the creators to work out all the pain, that they've had built up over years or decades or however long it's been. It's for them to. It's how they, their way of gaining some catharsis, perhaps. Yeah, working out that pain. I remember thinking the same thing a couple years back when I read what's it called, Meg and Mog. Who knows that, that, right?
Yeah,
Um,
Meg Mogan Owl by Simon
yeah,
Hanselman.
yeah, Simon Hanselman.
Maybe
Um,
you chose some of that. We'll see.
um, I'll tell you right off the bat, I didn't. I didn't. And listen, no offense to anything I left out. It's simply we can't. You got hundreds of pieces. I can only show 20. A lot of great stuff is going to be left out. What can I tell you? It's not like I have a choice. But yeah, when I read the Simon Hanselman stuff, man, that was the overriding feeling I had when I finished. I was like, man, like this person is really struggling with their sexuality. They're mainly that, right? I mean, you could tell it's like, yeah, it's they got a lot of issues going on, and they're trying to work it out through comics. Yeah. So
But I could not agree more with what you just said about how people work out their pain or their complicated feelings. I mean, I mentioned before, sometimes I write long pieces in my calf descriptions of the work. And,
right.
there's much about me, I feel, as the work. And I definitely am working out, like, why do I like this piece? Why? And sometimes it's like, why am I buying this stuff at all? Sort of wherever it takes me, I just kind of let it go and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let us see what we got next, everyone. Oh yeah. Okay. One of my favorite artists in the industry. Let's check this out, everybody. It is The cover to Nexus Space Opera, the collected series, a trade paperback cover by the legendary Steve, the Dude Rude from 2009. And very Kirby-esque in its powerful foreshortening of the character flying right at you. I love it. And yeah, I don't know. I will stop talking and I'll let you tell us more about it, Doug.
I think, if people know me from CAF, I'm sure they know me as a big Nexus collector, which is, that's actually how I sort of, not met, but really started interacting with Felix, because Felix is also a big Nexus collector.
Yeah.
And this is one where like I mentioned, I went off to boarding school, started reading alternative work. And this is definitely one that hit me big time back then. I loved the humor of it. I loved sort of the storytelling, certainly the art. And you watch kind of the dude from those early issues, from like issue 1, 2, 3, you can see his style progressing and him just getting better and better at the time. And the book was, it was complicated world building. It was funny, but it also had like these really interesting, complicated issues in it that kind of still, like, it was about immigration in a weird way, which of course is such a big topic now.
Very
topical.
Yeah.
Religious wars, which is always a big topic. And it was written by Mike Barron, and Barron was telling me there's a big arc. In fact, it's a big part of the story of the Soviet Union. And he said people used to make fun of him in a teasing sort of way because, of course, the Soviet Union fell 10 years after they started the comic. But of course, Russia is back now. He made it a point to say that to me. Now Russia's back. But yeah. So and I really felt Nexus was very sort of underappreciated and undervalued. And it wasn't sort of the first work I got, but this is really the work that sort of opened me up to the idea that you could collect comic art. Because Nexus was on a hiatus for about 10 years or so, from roughly early 90s to early 2000s. And it came back with this space opera, which was issues like 98, 99, 100, and 101. And at the time, and you see, Steve was publishing it himself, Rude Dude Productions, which almost cost him his house. He's not a business guy, not a production person at all. But then when I started sort of, interacting with him and his wife, the fabulous Janelle at the time, they started selling pages, and I was like, oh man, you can actually buy pages and pages of Nexus. And I had he recreated a scene for me as my first sort of artist interaction, like buy something directly from an artist. And then I started looking online, and then I found Heritage, and then I started buying stuff. And Steve and his wife told me at certain times where they were going to put up a bunch of stuff for auction, and I did buy a lot of it. And I had, I won't even say it because it's sort of embarrassing, but a lot of Nexus pages by Rude, probably 10 years after that. And I've sort of slowly whittled them down and gotten either better ones or just focused on the ones I really liked. And for the reasons you mentioned, I love this image. I mean, it's just so powerful, so Kirby-esque. If you, in the background, it has a lot of characters from the series in sort of shadow, but the focus is clearly on Nexus himself here.
Yeah. And
this one's hanging up in my bedroom. It's big. It's at least like 20 by 30 or something like that.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's impressive.
I think my bedroom, so I mentioned I have a wall with like Eisner and the other pieces I like. In my bedroom, it's all Nexus. I think there's maybe one piece that isn't Nexus in there, but I have a bunch of Nexus covers basically, and they're all up in the wall in there, which really sort of cheers me up every day, when I get up and sort of see them and all. In fact, I got a cover. Some people know this story, but at OAX this year, Steve sold his last vintage cover that he still had from sort of
Wow.
87 or something like that, I think.
Really?
And so I bought it, and Steve
Okay.
was there. I mean, if you guys were there, Steve came to OAX, and so I came and got it, and I figured it was, I think maybe they told me it was 20 by 30, and I sort of came with packing stuff to take back a 20 by 30 image, and the image is larger than 20 by 30. The actual image is 20 by 30, but the paper was like 22 by 36 or something, and
Oh,
I had to figure out how to get that on a plane and bring it back to New York. And I
wow.
went to
How did you
Staples,
do it?
and I went to Staples and I bought like some cardboard and
Oh,
and that, and I kind of sliced it and diced it and created a thing, and hoped, crossed my fingers that they'd let me on the plane with it, and they did, and thank God it came back. Yeah.
so yeah. See, that's funny. Is like back in the day when I used to go to like San Diego Comic-Con, right? And I'd buy a bunch of stuff. I would actually just ship it back to myself. Now, I'm not, mind you, this is for different reasons. It has nothing to do with oversized artwork. It's the whole border thing, whatever. It's a whole pain in the ass thing. But yeah, I even though it wasn't because of size, I have to say, I always told myself that were I ever to travel to a convention somewhere and I buy something that's oversized, I always told myself I will figure out a way to pack it. Like you said, Doug, I probably have to go to Staples somewhere to get packing, but I think I would rather ship it to myself rather than risk that I try to take it on the plane and they say, no, that's too big. No, we'll have to put it in the cargo. And then I'm like, oh shit. You know what I mean? I'd rather risk it in the mail, shipping it to myself, than them telling me we're gonna throw it into the cargo hold, knowing there's hundreds of luggage that could just fall on top of it and crush it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. Just one of those things, But you
remember the snowstorm happened too, right? And I had to move my flight up. And so I think I was on one of the last flights leaving Orlando Sunday morning. So I almost didn't get out at all with the piece, but it was great.
You did it. And that's what matters. It's safe and sound, and it's on your wall now, right? So,
well, the new one isn't, but the one you had out is.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. And out of curiosity, the cover, that last cover that he had, do you mean the last Nexus related cover or just vintage cover of any kind that he still
Yeah, I mean, I took it from him to say that was the last cover of Nexus that he had from the 80s,
from the 80s.
Vintage period.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. And did that make it into your gallery?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's in there. And the whole story about getting it home's in there too. It's actually my headshot on CAF right now is the image from that piece.
So remind me, what's the image on the cover?
It's two characters who are ape-like, like a male and a female, and the colors are very bright on that, which is kind of unusual for Steve.
Oh, that cover. Yeah. The very bright with pinks. There's a very big. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like a zigzag thing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy that he had that, and he had that until recently. That's pretty wild. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. And you picked it up, so that's right. And if that was the only thing you picked up, vintage Nexus cover, especially for a Steve Rude fan, that's pretty awesome. An awesome find at a convention, still being owned by the artist himself, right? I think that's pretty cool.
I knew he had it. I mean, I bought it ahead of time. Yeah, he put out that what he was bringing to the show, and he sort of mentioned that, and I just bought it right away.
Okay, gotcha. Either way, very cool pickup for sure. Size matter. The other head of state's war is to distract from PDF files. Cool story, says Rick. Okay, let me see what we have here next, everyone. Yes. Oh, I never read this comic. Never read it, even though I really liked the design of this character. And I got to tell you, Doug, I always loved this specific cover. There was something about this cover I always loved, even though the colors on the cover sucked big time. So thrilled to see this in your collection because now, wow, black and white, awesome. I could see it. I could finally see what it really supposed to look like. Yeah, but here we go, everybody, from back in the 80s. That lovable ninja you all love. Whisper, number 20 cover by Neil Spyder Hansen from 1989. Awesome. I love this cover, man. So cool to see it in your collection.
Well, I mean, Mark should really tell this story. Mark was the one who found this. Yeah. Mark found Neil Hansen, who's sort of been out of the industry, I think, for a while.
Oh, and, yes. I think you wrote about it in the description, right? I think so. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So if I remember what Mark told me, he went looking for him and found him, and he still had a bunch of this work. And I think Mark bought a cover and I bought a cover, and I don't know. But yeah, I mean, look at the image. She's like blowing up this stuff. Whisper was a really interesting book that didn't get its play, I think, at the time. You know, it was kind of that Japanese influence coming to America kind of thing. And also a woman. So it was, you know, a woman sort of running a character, being the lead character in a comic like that was really interesting. I'm not sure a lot of people read it, but First was just a great publisher. I mean, almost everything they put out was interesting in one way or another. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of us here have talked about many times about how, you know, we remember back in the days of the 80s, the indie companies, you know, again, like we even you mentioned earlier, Doug, First, Kamiko, Eclipse, right? They were really just putting out a lot of really interesting things like that just caught your attention and made you want to try them, you know? It was just a great time to be in comics, particularly. It was a great time if you were into mainstream, for me anyways, mainstream Marvel DC stuff, but also because of the indie boom that happened that decade. You know, I just thought it was so fun, and I really miss all those companies. I lament all the, you know, the demise of all those 80s indie companies, you know. Yeah. But let me see. Hot take. Hot take. MLB says Whisper greater than Elektra. That's a pretty hot take. Very hot take. And Mark says that he mentions the Neil Hansen story in his write-up for the cover to Whisper 18, which is the one that he got. Yeah, so check that out if you want to read that, everyone. And Rick says that it paved the way for Dark Horse. Yeah, all those companies did, really.
No, you know? Quite literally. Like, I think some of the people went from First when it went bankrupt and started Dark Horse.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, fun stuff. Again, I remember it for some of the covers and for her design, you know, female ninja, really cool. And because I didn't read it, I also remember it as Norm Brayfogle doing artwork, interior artwork in it. Yeah, that was interesting too. So, but okay. Let's see. Careless Whisper. Good song, not good song. Great song. I don't mind admitting I like a lot of different types of music. Great tune. All these decades later, great tune. Love Careless Whisper. Peter also says, like me, never read it, but the covers are great. Yeah. Written by Stephen Grant, which I do remember. Yeah. Who also wrote the Punisher miniseries. Yep. And Rick says, never gonna publish again. Yeah. And so, yeah, now we're going to stick with same publisher. And I cheated here just so, okay, technically there are 20 slides for 20 pieces, but on 2 of them, I cheated just so I could stick 2 pieces in. And this is, yeah, so this was one of those. And let's take a look at it. It is also from the great time in comics, American Flagg. So you got a great page. I can't believe you got one very rare from issue number 1 of American Flagg. Doug. So that's a real coup. But also owning the cover, an early cover to number 7, both by Howard Chaykin, of course, and both from 1983. So fantastic stuff. Yeah, tell us a little bit about this stuff.
Yeah, I love American Flagg. I think the first 12 issues of Flagg, I think, are as good as almost anything out there. And I think people don't give Flagg enough credit for all the sort of visual language it created, all the foresight it had. I mean, you could see even in this page from issue number 1, like the little use of boxes and stuff like that. Like, go look at Dark Knight, which is 5 years after this, and you'll see a lot of this stuff taken up in that. Um, it's a really intricate story. There's a lot of violence and sex in it, which just seemed astonishing at the time that they could do that in a comic. I can't remember which one I got first, the cover or the page, but I got the cover on eBay, which I find still
nice.
kind of interesting still to this day. But I really wanted a page from the first issue because it's just, it has all the things that you want in it. Like, it has all the main characters here. It has the Go Gangs coming. I'm really happy I got that. You'll notice the cover is signed, but page number 1 isn't. And it's kind of like this comedy of errors. Every time I see Chaykin, I don't have it with me, so I can't get it signed. I've missed him like 5 or 6 times where I meant to have it to get him signed, and a couple times I had it and then he didn't show or something like that. So it's just yeah. But I really think that this is one of like my top 5 favorite comics, I think, of all time. The first 12 issues of Flagg, I'd say.
Wow. And let me show everybody this. I was stuck on the original art, and here's the color for everybody so you can compare. It's funny that you say that, Doug, because I myself didn't read American Flagg. I tried, so I would have been 14 at the time. And I remember trying an issue, not really getting it. I said, but I love the art. Oh my God, it's so good. And so I read another couple of issues, and it just went over my head. I was like, I remember thinking, man, I think this is really meant for adults. Not, and I was I'd like to think I was an intelligent kid, but I just didn't get it. I could tell it was like political, but with some maybe sometimes with religious undertones. It was just weird to me. It handled topics that as a 14-year-old just wasn't interested in, so I didn't go on with it beyond the 2 or 3 issues. Although I would flip through it regularly because I love the art so much, but I have friends, some who are the same age as me, some who are, like yourself, just a little bit older, who swear by it. I mean, even Felix, it's like, so many people swear by it as like, oh, it's one of the most groundbreaking, great things. And I'm like, damn, how did you understand it reading it as a 14-year-old or even as a 17-year-old? It seems to me that it was just you had to be more adult, I don't know, but you took to it even as did you read it back when it was coming out, when you were still a teen yourself?
I did, but I definitely did not fully grasp it until, years later with multiple reads. I think I was attracted to the art, certainly, and sort of the ability to show sex and violence in a way that normal comics didn't. But even then, I could tell how tightly it was written. And I mean, he wrote and drew everything in the first, I think, 24 issues. And I think they're putting those out. They're putting all the issues that Chaykin drew and did all the work on himself out in a volume this fall. Which will be very interesting, I think, to read like straight through. But cool. I think I knew even back then I wasn't getting it all. like in some ways, like I couldn't tell what was happening even in the series because I didn't have the capacity to like understand, kind of like what the references were to. And so, but I mean, there's so many things going on in there. I mean, there's the breakdown of the inner city and stuff. There's the rise of the billionaires buying countries and things like that. There's the splintering of political parties into tiny little religious or political oriented entities, and the over sense of violence on television and things like that. What's interesting too, they in that series they outlaw sports gambling. It's like the one thing you can't do. So that's actually underground, and everyone's like trying to do that, which is sort of the opposite of where we are today. But anyway, it's a series I find holds up extremely well, and I just think it's great.
It must for you to call it top 5 all time. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty high praise, right? So, Marcus is asking, you didn't even enjoy it on the surface level? Well, again.
Well, I said I like the sex and violence. I mean,
I read 2 or 3 issues, Marcus, and of course I cared for the cat, Raul. I mean, that was one of the funnest things about it for me. I was just like, okay, a talking cat named Raul, that's pretty cool. It's weird and I don't get it, but I like it, Rick says, Raul for president. Yes, I remember. But the thing is here, where's that comment here? Yeah, like Tom was saying, and you mentioned, Doug, that very sexual things. I gotta say, and I think even Felix, we talked about it, about sexual. I was like, I gotta tell you. Again, doesn't matter that I didn't really read much of it, but I always looked through it. Strangely enough, I do not remember. I don't have no memory of nudity, let alone sex. In American,
I don't think there's any nudity in it or sex, but I think sort of the
implied offhand.
Well, the visuals certainly are of ladies in lingerie just walking around in a sense. Like it's okay in society to do that. The society is very sexualized.
Oh, okay.
And then there's also like sex is just part of the plot. And of course, with Chaykin, there's always a gender bender going on, which again, I won't spoil it 55 years after the fact, but so there's that too. I mean, so there's a lot of, like I said, it's a good book. There's not sensationalism in it at all. There's really just, a calm, great approach to the topic, all of them. And, he was only like 30 then when he was doing this, and it really is his masterpiece, I think.
I think a lot of people would agree with that last statement, certainly, I don't get this one, though, Rick. Do you get this, Doug? Reuben Flagg was Mark Thrust. Who's Mark Thrust?
Well, Flagg played a porn star who was kind of like a police officer, but it was porn on TV. Oh. And then the joke was then he became a police officer in real life. He became, and then.
Okay. That's interesting. What's up, Yevgeny? Sexist Ranger. Yes, Rick says retired TV porn.
It's all references to the series, and like I said, it's very sexualized, but not with sex. It was just kind of all around it.
At least now I'm happy. It explains why I don't have any memory of visualizing seeing sex in it. That's okay. I'm happy you finally clarified that for me, Doug. And Marcus, you've mentioned this before, when we've talked about these kinds of comics, and probably specifically American Flagg, that as a kid, it made you feel more adult reading it. Yeah, I mean, some of them for sure, that's probably, there's some truth to that for sure. Certainly when I started reading Swamp Thing, I understood it. For sure, but I could tell, and again, same year, I was 14, 1984, and I could tell that that writing in Swamp Thing by Alan Moore was way above any other mainstream comic book that had ever been written. I could tell. And so, it made me feel like, wow, this is like, you do kind of feel more like you're adult. It's very sophisticated. you know, more than any other kind of superhero stuff, you know. So, yeah, I
You know,
guess American Flagg, we're following in that vein, you know.
a small note to Flagg is he was only free to do it because he got into this huge fight with Jim Shooter, and Shooter fired him from Marvel, and so he had
Oh, is
nothing
that
to
right?
do. And so he, and of
Cool.
course, then there were all these independent publishers, and they said, "Do you have anything?" And he was like, "Actually, I do." And there came Flagg.
Cool. Nice little tidbit there. Oh, and by the way, David in Australia is just curious. He always asks this of anybody from from whose collection I show Chaykin art. He always asks, Doug, do you have any Chaykin Black Hawk pages? No.
I do not. No.
Okay. Sorry, David. And the hunt continues. Tom, that's funny. That's funny. Tom says, for Swamp Thing, I kept the dictionary by me when reading it. That's cool, though. I mean, yeah, why not, right? Like, you were young enough, like, yeah. I mean, his diction was incredible. It was, like I said, way beyond anybody else's at the time, you know, up until then in comics. So, yeah, very cool. Okay. So what do we got here, everybody? So American Flagg, and what do we have after American Flagg? Ah, yes. So as I told you at the beginning of the show, everyone, especially you, Tom, get ready because Doug, oh, he's Marvel heavy for sure. So Marvel heavy. Let's look at yet another piece of Marvel art. Why don't we? All right, here we go. It's a page from the Invaders. Issue 40, page 23 by Alan Kupperberg and Chick Stone from 1979, which I love because not only does it have the Invaders characters, but I've always had this thing for Baron Blood. Just visually, he looks like such a great character. He's so fun, you know?
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
So I think I only have 2 or 3 pages from Marvel, but I always loved the Invaders. This was one of those books in the mid 70s, that I got shown that I was way too young for, but it always stuck with me. I love kind of the World War II vibe of it. The heroes fighting Hitler and all that kind of stuff. And I'd kind of been waiting for the right page to come along to buy. Really for years, and it just never did. And finally I saw this one. I was like, you know what, the hell with it. Like, I'm not going to let the perfect be the enemy of the good here. And just for the reasons that you mentioned, I bought it. It has all the major characters on it, and it has Baron Blood, who's by far the best villain from the series. I don't think Alan Kupperberg's the best artist for it at all. I think Robbins is probably the best artist, and Kirby did some of the covers, but you can't have everything, and I'm very happy to have this. I just bought this year, and I'm so happy to have it because it just brings back like such a evocative point in my childhood, and really reading this and really loving it, not understanding anything, but having a good time and just, being happy with it.
Yeah. And by the way, I just posted two consecutive messages. So one from Tom, one from Peter. Check this out. Tom says, Doug, can sell me this page and buy some underground. And Peter says, get in line, Tom.
Well, anybody could have bought it. It was just out there, I think, on CAF.
Oh, wow. That's funny. But yeah, fun page. I mean, for a guy who doesn't really have any Marvel art, really, a couple of pages. Yeah, it's a fun one for sure. Yeah. And yeah, Baron Blood. I mean, how can you not love like Nazi vampire? As the villain, obviously, right? Like, yeah, like love to hate them, Yeah. Good combination.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let me see. Okay, so perfect little segue. We're gonna go. So from that piece with a Nazi vampire, okay, we're gonna show a really cool looking piece here next. Back to independent comics. But I set it up this way because I'm thinking Baron Blood. Yeah, cool. This would be cool to show next because it's creepy as hell. I've never heard of this graphic novel, but it's just creepy as hell, and I loved it. So I was like, yeah, I want Doug to tell us all about this. So let's take a look at it, everybody. It's a splash. Check it out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Zoe Thoroughgood.
I bought this at OAX actually.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Okay.
yeah. And Zoe was there, so I sort of bought it from her.
Very cool.
This was, I think, a really great book, and she's put out another book since then, or was it before? I may be mixing up the timeline, but this is really about her, and you know, and as it sort of looks, this is about a very kind of negative interaction at school that she had. Ultimately, I think this book's about the suicide of her brother, which is true and happened, and
Oh,
how
really?
she
Wow.
reacted to it. I mean, she's only late 20s, maybe. She's very young.
Right.
But this is the only page in the book that has a character that's kind of not anthropomorphized or changed somehow. This is the actual image of the actual teacher who she had, or the headmistress or whatever, who was actually very mean to her. And it's talking about suicide. You see, they don't mention the word suicide here, but that is what they're talking about. So it was very kind of, you know, intricate to the story in that sense, and just weird and creepy, like you said.
Yeah.
I think Zoe's a very talented artist, and you know, I was really pleased to meet her and get this piece at the same time.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, Doug, this the piece. Did you say perhaps in your description that this was maybe one of only 2 or 3 pages she still had left from the book? Is that possible?
That is right.
Oh,
and
wow.
The book's 100+ pages. Yeah, she sold them all except for, I don't know, 5, 10, something in that range. Very few.
Wow.
But I think she had held this one back, maybe because it was so creepy or not.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very cool for sure. I mean, that's fantastic. If we're just talking about the story, forget the artwork aside for a moment. Would you say it was a great story, or pretty good story, okay story? Like, what did you think of it?
Well, it's very autobiographical, so you know,
Right.
it's the story may be kind of second to the autobiographical nature of it. I think
Okay.
I think it's uneven. It's showing an artist really feeling herself out and finding her way. So there's some great parts to it. The cover is very evocative if you've ever seen it. It's of her sort of dancing in her kitchen with headphones on, to
Okay.
herself. So I don't know. It's a good read, but it's not her best work. I think she's maturing, and the work's even going to get better.
Okay. Excellent. Marcus says very advanced for a newcomer. So is that to say that that book was that her first graphic novel?
I think it's her first work of any kind.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Wow.
Didn't she win like some award at OAX? I think I wasn't at the awards, but I think she won something, which is why she was there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure one of you guys can let us know. Brett's in the house. What's up? Hey, love to see Zoe's art. What's happening, Brett? She's a wonderful storyteller, says Steve. The impending blindness is also semi-autobiography. Okay. Thank you.
That's their next one, and it's really great. I mean, that book, I think, is more of a fulsome story, let's say.
Yeah, my friend Matt, who was here earlier, he has mentioned to her on several occasions. So I think he's a fan of Zoe's as well. Peter says, I really like Doug's measured, well-considered analysis.
That's very kind. Thank you.
Okay, Marcus.
Too tired to get mad.
I guess at OAX, she won the newcomer award.
Okay, makes sense.
Okay. No impending blindness.
Oh, okay.
Is her first book.
Okay, flipped them. Got it.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Right, and Mark confirms Zoe won the best newcomer award at OAX. Okay, very cool. Yeah, great piece. I just thought that was creepy as hell, and I knew that it had some kind of, on some level, autobiographical. So I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder what's happening with the vampire-looking, headmistress or principal or whoever that was. I was thinking, okay, this is probably some sort of way of her working out her issues of that woman when she was in school must have treated her really badly, or you know what I mean, and must have been really mean to her. And yeah. So, like I said, I got to get more into these indie autobiographical graphic novels. I really like them, so I got to read more of that stuff. Like, so yeah, Joe Matt and all the Canadian guys and all these young female creators who are doing indie stuff, autobiographical. Yeah. She won the newcomer award, but she's been that's, I gotta say, I've been repeating out loud that she's, she won the newcomer award. I didn't want to say it, but since you brought it up, Steve, I have to say that is kind of weird. If she's already been around for a while, which I also thought so, why would she have won the award this year if she's not a newcomer anymore? She's been around a few years, right?
Oh, Bill had to get the artist OAX somehow, so hand out a few awards to people.
Yeah, fair enough. She's new to Kasra. Okay, fair enough too. Fair enough. And she was funny, says Tom. She was funny. Okay. She said, thanks, even though I've been around for a while. Oh, I heard that, actually. Thanks, Tom. I actually heard an anecdote about that. Yeah, exactly. That she was like, the irony of me being around for a while and winning the newcomer award. Right. Newly discovered is a good way to put it. Yeah, new to some fans, I guess, Well,
compared to us, she's a newcomer, right?
Right. Exactly. Okay. So let me see where we are. We're 17. Okay, we're almost done, everybody. We got just a few more to go. And from Zoe Thorogood, we're going to take it back to First Comics because I did used to read this title. I thought it was a lot of fun. And love the artist. We've seen the artist already tonight, but I love him, so why not have him twice? So yeah, and this was one of my favorite covers of the run. So think it's so cool that you have it, Doug. So check it out, everybody. It is the cover to Badger number 32 by once more Steve, the dude Rude, from 1988. Yeah, showing off his martial arts prowess. Superb. Love it. Yeah, love it, man.
Yeah, I've always loved Steve's drawing of the Badger, even though he didn't draw the Badger. He just drew him here and there, like on this cover. And Badger, oddly, was in a few Nexus issues, even though Nexus is 500 years in the future. Somehow that worked out. But Bill Reinhold was the main Badger artist. Bill did like issues 5 to 30 something. So
yeah,
really the bulk of what people know as the Badger was done by Bill. And Bill's a really great guy, and I bought a lot of work from Bill over the years. I joke with him, I probably have the largest Badger collection of art in the world, which is probably true. I mean, who's collecting Badger work? But I think it's great. I really love it. And but Bill had this. Steve gave it to Bill. Bill got married to the woman. He met her because she was coloring Badger. And they got married then. And Steve gave this to them as a wedding present, actually, back in 1988 or whatever it was. And Bill had it all that time until like last year or so, where he finally decided it was time to move on. And as soon as I saw it, of course, I said, I got to get this. I mean, it ticks every box for me. It's Steve, it's him doing the Badger. It's an amazing kick-ass piece.
Yeah.
And it's the mirror image thing going on there, which is really kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's not even up on my wall or anything yet. I just got it and kind of put it in the drawer, and I should pull it out and look at it because it's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. That would look so cool on a wall.
It really would. Right. It's huge too. Huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. It's the dude we're talking about, like the paint large, So, yeah, literally kicks ass and great action indeed. Yeah, but just I love the paint quality, the texture. Yeah, really, really nice.
Steve kind of talks this stuff down. He's like, I mean, like every artist, he doesn't like his own work. And
it's my old stuff. Yeah.
But I think most of us look at that and like, it's amazing. And Steve's a master, but he had only been working for like 7 years at the moment at that time. You know, he was
Right.
still a very like young artist or so.
Yeah.
And so he kind of, you know, talks that stuff down, but I think it's terrific. I think that's prime Rude right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, love it. So very happy to see you have it and happy to feature it and showcase it tonight. Give it some love, you know?
Well,
Yeah. Good
there's your tip. You know, buy art from the artists, even if they're not well known, and eventually they'll give you something amazing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right. So what's next? Oh, yes, of course. We're going to stick with the same theme. Talked about this earlier, and this is the second of the two pieces that I cheated on. Two pieces of art, so we can see a little bit more art that way, from the same title, of course, same artist. And yeah, let's check this out. We talked a little bit about this title earlier. Here we go. From John Sable Freelance, we got the page 5 from issue number 2. Very early, very, very cool. Those of you who remember, Grell started getting looser with the brush later on and the pens, but much tighter at the beginning. And so it's really, really cool to see a nice early tight page like this. And of course, right next to a cover. And I got to say, my favorite part of the cover, Doug, it's the vehicle. I love, like a lot of guys growing up, right? Loved sports cars. Like I was okay. Yeah, I can appreciate a sports car, but I actually, my whole life, I always preferred these, I don't know what you call these older vintage automobiles that are not sports cars. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So yeah, that's my favorite part about this. Yeah, so and it mentions Shatter, for those of you who remember the first computerized comic book. Yeah, a lot of fun. So yeah, sorry. Take it away, Doug.
Well, we should really let Rick talk now if he's still here. But
Of course he's here.
but yeah, I mean, drawing vehicles was a labor of love for Grell. I mean, you could have put up the other Sable page that I have in there, where Sable's riding a motorcycle, and that's great as well.
Yeah.
But I had a ton of Sable pages. One of the first things I did when I started collecting was look for them, and Catskill Comics had still a ton later issues, but like almost whole issues on. And they were $50, $100 a page, 200 for double pages, unbelievably cheap. So I bought that, a lot of that, and I've slowly sold them off. And I bought earlier ones, like this page and the page from issue 5, I think that I have. And I had a whole bunch from issues like 17 and 18, and I actually sold those to Rick, as Rick knows, because he had kind of the other half of those issues. I think Rick probably has most of issue 17. Rick, I'm like telling your story now. But I didn't have a cover. And I've been waiting for a cover. And there've been like a string of covers this year sold through Comic Link. And eventually I pulled the trigger and paid, you know, full price basically. But I love it. It's a great cover. It's got everything I wanted, you know, Sable, the car, the girl, you know, all that. So just very happy.
Yeah. I mean, Rick did mention that he used to own the panel page. So
nobody has more or knows more Sable than Rick.
Exactly. He also says Felix has the number 17 cover. Yes, indeedy.
Yeah, Felix and I overlap on a number of things. Sable and Nexus are two of them.
Can I? Oh, and I'm sorry, everybody. Here, I did it again. I don't know. I don't usually forget to do that. Here we go. Just so you can remember more how you all remember it back in the day. With the color, obviously. And here we go.
By the way, Grell is doing Kickstarters and reprinting these in like books of like 12 issues at a time or something like that. And I think the new colors are terrible.
Oh,
really?
really?
These are old 80s colors, but I mean, these are the colors. And the new ones seem, again, bright and garish. Although maybe I just don't like the kind of coloring. But I find the new ones like unreadable in a sense for me because I like the old ones.
Do you know who's doing the coloring? Like it's not Grell himself.
No.
No, no.
Maybe Rick knows or somebody else knows. That's a good question.
Okay. Well, let me
But they
just
came
put
and
it out
scanned a
there.
bunch of my pictures. They came and
Oh,
scanned a bunch of my pages for that.
okay. Nice. So I just want to put out there. I've mentioned this before on a previous episode, once or twice. So I've been in the hobby for now almost 30 years, and one of the many things that I dreamed about finding back in the 90s was John Sable. The cover and story. In fact, I in this case, I would rather have had story if I could only get one. But ideally, the whole book with the cover to John Sable number 20. And this stuff never used to come out. And then a few years back, you remember, Doug, when a whole ton of John Sable stuff started coming out at auction. And I was like, oh my God, it's finally going to come out. It's finally going to come out. Mind you, I was like, yeah, but I don't know that I want to pay what it sells for now. That's the thing. But strangely enough, it never came out. So to this day, not a single page from the issue nor the cover has seen the light of day. And I'm just like, first of all, does anybody know, is it known where all that Grell John Sable stuff that came out at auction a few years back, do we know that, was it one collector who had it all and was dumping it all? I would think so. Is there anything known about that?
I don't know. I know at the same time, Berkey all of a sudden had a lot of John Sable too. So I kind of felt like he probably got half of it and half went to auction. And he had issues 17, 18, and a few others. You might ask him. He may know.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, if he had it, he would have put it out by now anyways, Have you ever found a page while boring in the jungle?
That's kind of a Sable thing, hunting boars.
Well, I know he's making a reference to the whole Sable whatever, but that was weird. Should have got Villarubia to color the reprint. Preferred the original matte colors. Did Doug read Ralph Snart in the 80s by any chance? Steve wants to
Not
know.
really. No, not really.
I remember
I have to say, with Sable, like some of the work I feel like holds up right now. Like you could just pick it up and read it. It seems very contemporary. I don't feel that way with Sable. Sable's like very much of the 80s, I feel. And when I'm reading it, I'm very nostalgic for that period.
Sorry. So Sable is very much of the 80s. Which is the one that you said is very contemporary?
Well, some of the others that I had mentioned, like Nexus in particular, and even Flagg in a sense.
Okay. Oh, okay. And yes, indeed, Rick, the rookie, baby, the rookie. Oh, man. And that's, what's funny is I always felt, from the beginning of my time in the hobby when I got in the 90s, I always felt like, oh, man, if that comes out, I should be able to get it for cheap because, first of all, it would have been affordable enough for me to get at the time. I could have probably, in the 90s, I probably would have been able to get the complete book and cover for, I don't know, $3,000, $2,500, something like that. But on top of it, even if it had been just a cover, I always thought, wow, if it ever pops up, it'll be great because most John Sable fans, probably will consider that issue, that cover, like one of the cheaper ones. It will go for cheap because it doesn't have John Sable on the cover. It has a cop. It has a dead body at the bottom and then a floating head of a cop. So I was like, yeah, there's no John Sable on it, so that'll be one of the, great. It'll be cheap for me. And that's why I'm so frustrated. All these decades later, it never shown up. I'm like, ugh. And I don't know how much it would sell for if it ever came up now. But yeah, I'm not so sure I'd want to have to pay the price. Out of curiosity, that leads me to it's a good segue because it's a good question. Do you know any idea, ballpark, Doug, what a random John Sable cover would sell for today at auction? Like, what?
I mean, 3 or 4 have sold this year, including the one I bought. And I think The ones without Sable that aren't very good sell in the 1 to 2,000 range, I think. But the good ones sell in like the 3
Ooh.
to 4,000 range or 5,000 or something like that.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know.
Okay. Oh, great to know that. Okay. Wow. So I may, unless somebody wants to stick it to me, I may have a chance at the cover if it ever appeared. Although again, I'd rather buy the complete story if it ever came up. But who knows? That would be obviously several thousands, right? So, but gosh, that would be that would feel so good to own that. You haven't been saving for 40 years? What do you mean? Oh, saving my money? It's not the point. It's not the point. Even if I have the money, I just don't want to spend that kind of money. Mike's ex might have them. Is that true? His ex ended up with some of the art in a divorce. Interesting to know. You know what? It's too bad Sean Clancy isn't here. I mean, he's interviewed him a bunch of times. I should reach out to Sean and see if he knows anything about that. Love the Longbow Hunters. Indeed. Yeah, that was fun. Her name is Sharon. Interesting. Okay. Maybe it's a
Ruben,
yeah.
Ruben, the guy who's putting together the books right now, I'm sure had to scan that art from that issue. So he must know where it is, unless they had somehow digital representations of it.
Right, unless they could just be scanning from old proofs, right?
They could.
Yeah.
But he would be the person to ask. I believe his name's Glenn Hauptman.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I tried to watch the TV show on YouTube. Yikes. Been a few longbow pieces popping up on HA lately. Have there? Longbow? Wow, I've been missing them then. Keep my eyes peeled. Thank you. I'd appreciate that, Rick. I'd appreciate that. Right, Rick. Won't buy the art, but the comic was great. I even had the counter display. $350. $350 for what? 4K to 15K for what? For what? You mean for the complete issue of number 20? I mean, that's a pretty wide range, man. I would listen. It doesn't really have, if I remember correctly, it barely had, I think Sable might have been in only a few pages or something. Yeah, 4K sounds pretty fair because it doesn't have Sable much. 15, I'm definitely not a player. I don't think I'm only a player at like close to 4K. Yeah, who knows? Oh, that's not bad. Less than a Matsu Kelly page. It depends on content, of course. But that's why I'm saying that story. I mean, I haven't looked at it in a long time. I remember Sable being only in a few pages. So what you're saying is that there is still a chance. What's up, Jason? I guess so. But I'm not going to hold my breath on it. Whatever. And I'm at the point in my collecting career, as you guys know, where I'm whittling it down, and I'm not looking to buy stuff. But for certain things, yes, I'd buy. But still, I'm not going to go and spend crazy money for it. Sell the Maz Ruben and get a Sable cover. Like I said, I would love to have the story even more than the cover, but it would be great to get them both. And I feel, given that neither have ever popped up, I feel both of them, the whole book is complete. I think the book and with the cover is probably still together, whoever owns it. Yeah. No chance, Peter. Sean's reading Matt Baker right now. John Sable. Oh, John Sable covers. You're saying they're ranging from 4 to, 4 minimum? Jeez, that would be a lot of money for a cover with no Sable on it. I don't know, but Doug says that just this year, the not so good ones only sell for a couple of grand or less.
Yeah, there was one, Rick. Rick, you and I were talking about one, but it was later. It was maybe like issue 40 or something that went, and it didn't have Sable on it. It had like a giant gun on it, and that went for like 1,000. But that was not a good cover, and later. So maybe he's right. Earlier one.
Well, Rick, I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking, just because there's no Sable, it's just a police officer. And again, it's a one-off issue where it's not like a cop that was, throughout this series, right? It's like you don't see him. He comes in one issue, that's it. It's like a fill-in issue pretty much, So I would expect it to go, fairly reasonably. I'd give 3K for it, because I can afford, 3K don't feel like I'm overpaying or whatever. It doesn't hurt to spend 3K. But no, Marcus, don't buy that cover to try to trade it to me for the Maz page. I will definitely not do that. You'll be stuck with the Grell cover of a police officer's head and a dead guy. Brett says that maybe Gene Simmons bought all that art because everyone remembers he wanted to be the lead in the TV show and had the rights. I remember that now that you mention it, but I don't know. And he was a comic book fan. Yeah, anything's possible. But again, I'm really more curious about it more than anything. Where was all that stuff coming out from back a few years ago when all those issues and covers and stuff were coming out, Just curious. I mean, like, I wonder if it was, I figured when that kind of thing happens, it does tend to be one person just had accumulated a bunch of it. So it could have been one hardcore collector who accumulated it all back in the day, and then decided to sell it all off, or who knows? Maybe it could have been the wife. That could have been the ex-wife, right? Who knows? Yeah, so the one with the film reel went cheap. Yeah. I mean, that's what Doug is referring to, You think that's an outlier, though? Okay. Multiple covers without the main character. Are there many without the main character, though? Tighten up, Ruben. Doug's getting tired. Well, we're getting to the end of the show here, fellas. In fact, this is the last piece, so you can all be gone, like Calgon, take you away. So let me get back into the room where I keep all my images here, everybody. And since this is the final piece in tonight's show and tell everybody, I can tell you, Marcus, you'll be disappointed. It is not by Caroline Cash. Sorry, Caroline. Sorry, but you did make my initial cut of, 40 pieces. And then I had to whittle it down. But I felt this had to be, for me, and I kind of felt for you too, Doug, this had to be the way we ended the show. This, by the way, Doug, I told Doug, everyone, before we went live, that there was a piece that I was going to show tonight. That one piece alone, I ended up doing like an hour's worth of like research on it for my own reasons. I'll explain later. But yeah, so I figure this is very special. And I know a lot of you guys don't give a crap about this, but I know Doug does, I do, and a few of you do as well. So this is it, everybody. Take a look. It is a piece of art. It is literally a cutout of a single panel, okay, from the story Tintin, The Secret of the Unicorn, which some of you may or may not know. Before it was published in album format, it was published in daily newspaper strip format in a newspaper called Le Soir. And of course, it's by Georges Remy, aka Hergé. Published. This comes from literally the 5th panel of a 5-panel daily, published on Thursday, January 14th, 1943. Talk about precision there, right, Doug? And I also got to tell you guys, I don't even know if Doug knows. We didn't talk about it because obviously I never tell the collectors, what I'm going to show. But you could tell us in a moment, Doug, if you did know. This comes from the 3rd panel, so the middle panel of the 5-panel daily, and it happens to also be the final daily of the story, as told as presented in the newspaper strips when it was originally serialized. So there you go. Let us know what you have to say about this, Doug. I know you should have more than I had to say, and I've already said quite a bit. So. Go for it, baby.
Well, I'm glad you put this up. I really love this piece.
Great.
There's so much one could say about it, but it's my favorite Tintin book, my favorite story, and it's the original piece, like you said, published in the newspaper, because there's been so many kind of rewrites and redone things with Tintin, but it has such a a history behind it. I mean, Hergé, right, and the Nazis. He was, his first couple books being, sort of racist. This is the Unicorn's really the first book where Tintin becomes kind of the Tintin that I think everybody knows, and introduces, the main characters, the captain, and some of the other ones. Um, and just being able to find a piece like that with Tintin and Snowy on it was just incredible. It's tiny, as you can see, because it's not even a square. I mean, they cut around his head. They didn't even get the whole square.
Yeah. In fact,
Yeah.
the speech balloons, right? The word balloons are larger, I would say, at least taller than the artwork. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But it just sort of came together. It had all those things that I really enjoy. And I was kind of, when I was thinking about buying this, I was thinking, Tintin may be the most read comic ever, right? I mean, what comic has been translated into more languages than Tintin? So it's read in every country. My kids read it. My younger child has read it, like learning French. And my older child saw that movie that came out like 10 years ago, kind of the Spielberg, which adopted part of the story. And I don't know, it was just great. And I'm so afraid of this piece, though. I keep it like hidden in the drawer. I'm afraid it'll fade. I'm afraid I'll lose it because it's small. So I don't display it or anything. But I do take it out and look at it every now and then. I even love the fact it has the number written on it, that it was probably organized in an album. When they start putting the little pieces together, it's number 41. And it's so old and so sort of, historical that they needed to get this authentication certificate from the Hergé Foundation, which is something you see in art, but you don't see that in comic art that much because most of it's not that old. Right. So I don't know. I felt it was just a really, really special piece. And, it's definitely the smallest and the oldest thing I have. So I'm very happy to have it.
World War II era, right there in the last few years of World War II. Yeah, it's crazy. So Doug, were you aware that it came from the final strip in the newspaper story?
No.
Oh.
No. I knew it was in the newspaper, of course. And I knew that Hergé, the story of them publishing at all was kind of fraught. He was a very conservative guy and, somewhat anti-Semitic and racist.
Right.
But of course, that fit with the Nazis thing. But at some point, I think the Nazis even got too racist for Hergé during that time. And either he stopped or they stopped him from publishing or something happened. So,
yeah. So I'm glad I did that, spend the extra hour just to research this particular piece, because not only is it from the middle panel in the last daily of the story, but for those of you who are fans of Tintin, I can also tell you that, as happened with a lot of American comic strips, when they would, for example, Sundays, some newspapers, they preferred to publish them horizontal wise. Others preferred, the taller vertical style. And so when it was drawn in one format, oftentimes the originals got cut up so they could, and then the panels would be reset and restructured so that they could fit the other orientation, and then when it comes to the Tintin, the early stuff that was serialized in the newspapers, in order for it to eventually be reprinted in the albums that most of us are familiar with, the hardcover albums, not only did they have to get cut up and reformatted, but in doing that, they often had to drop out some panels. So your panel, again, you could tell us, Doug, I don't know if you even know, but this panel, this original art you own, didn't actually make it into the album.
So I know that. Yeah.
Album. Okay, you know that. Okay. But to me, it's still cool because it was originally in comic strip format, that's what's cool to me. So I mean, it's still published, and I don't. Have you ever seen a scan of the of what it looks like in published form?
In the newspaper, no. But I know there have been so many bound editions of this stuff over the years.
Right.
I think it was only in like the 60s and 70s that they kind of came to a stop, of changing them up, and they're the things that we read now. So I have no idea. This story has been published multiple times.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So, who knows? But I don't really care. I like the historical nature of it.
Well, listen, like I said, my 1 hour paid off. I want you to take a look at this, Doug.
Yeah. There you go.
There you go. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, focus on the third panel, and then I'll do this. All right. Right. So look at the original art here, and then you see that it's exactly the same, and you can see the way it was cut out to leave the word balloons behind. Right there.
Is there a book that published all the newspaper?
Newspaper you know what? I don't know of that, but I can tell you, and I've been intending on telling you, that I certainly know that they published a book. I think it was, don't quote me, but I think around 2006 or something like that. But in this century, they published a book that included all the panels, all the work that had been cut out, that never made it into the albums from the newspaper strips, which is very interesting. So you would probably find this panel finally published in that book if you wanted to track it down. But if you want, and I'm sure you probably would like to have it on file, I'll email you the scan to this strip.
Oh yeah, that'd be terrific.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yep. You can see why they cut it, though, right? They don't need 5 images of him on the phone.
Yeah, exactly. It's redundant, right? With the following panel kind of thing, and yeah, exactly. And one more thing, I just wanted to let you guys know, just a little fun tidbit. It's not important, but when artists like Hergé, when they use pseudonyms, sometimes you wonder, okay, but what does that mean? Why do they, use that name? Where does it come from? So I can just tell you, in case for those of you interested, so his name is Georges Rémy, right? So the initials are GR. So if you flip that in reverse to RG, when you pronounce those letters in French, it's R, G. R and G are RG, RG. And there you go. It's as simple as that. That's how he came up with his fake name, is a pseudonym. And yeah, I thought that was very interesting. So good little tidbit for everybody on there. And Hydra's back says, amazing that it survived. Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I agree. Great research. Thank you, Rick. Yeah, listen, when I love and I'm passionate about something, like even though I don't really have the time, I can't help myself. I'll dig in, and I was just like, oh man, I was so intent on tracking down an image, a scan of the newspaper strip after finding out that it had not made it into the albums. I was like, oh man, if I could just find that. And by the way, guys, the crazy thing about that is, this is what makes me crazy sometimes. This is, again, not telling Doug that I picked this piece. I didn't. I kept it secret like I do with everybody. But in doing what I did, I knew that there was the very high risk that we do the show, and then Doug tells me, oh yeah, I have a scan of the strip, whatever. I could have saved myself an hour looking for it, but that would mean I'd have to ruin the surprise that I was going to show this piece, So I'm like, okay, I'll just take my chances. It'll be fun anyways, and it's a good feeling when you track stuff down, you spend time, and you finally find it, And I got to tell you, Doug, it was hard, man. It was hard because I kept doing Google searches for Tintin and you know, then I put the title of the story, for instance, you know. The thing was is I kept doing searches in English, right? Because I'm English. And I was getting nothing. And I was like, oh man, this was like probably 45 minutes in, found nothing. I'm like, I should stop. I've got to finish preparing the show. And then I'm like, wait a second. Let me give one last chance. Let me try a few searches in French. So I started doing French, you know, putting French words in, and 15 minutes later, boom! Oh my God, there it is! I found it, you know? Oh shit! So, yeah, it's funny how it works sometimes, you know? The internet's a really crazy thing. And yes, Alberto, for those of you who don't know, when he was here earlier, he mentioned, oh, Doug has a Tintin piece in his collection, but I didn't highlight it. I jumped over it because I knew this was coming, and I didn't want anybody to know that I was gonna show this piece, you know. So translation, yeah, I mean, and these books have been translated to so many languages, you know. Ruben the researcher, yes, indeed. Sometimes easy to translate with the phone. That's true too. Yeah, I just needed to do some simple searches, Tom, and I you know, my French isn't great, but I can speak French, so I didn't need the translation. Well, now we know. Show your mystery art to Ruben. Try to stump Ruben. Don't talk about him when he's not here. Language lesson segment will be part of a future shows unless interrupted by taking it to the HNL. Yeah. But there you go, fellas. Doug, man, thank you so much for doing this. I hope.
Thank you.
I hope I did. Again, it's always hard to do a collection justice with 20 pieces. I hope that I kind of did it justice with, you know, knowing that I'm handcuffed to around 20 pieces. And I hope you enjoyed doing this. I had a lot of fun, man. So I appreciate you doing this with me. And yeah, I'm glad you did it. So thank you.
Me too. Thanks a lot, Ruben. It's a lot of fun.
Great. I'm glad to hear it. Let me see. Oh, one last quick question, Doug. Marcus had asked 10, 20 minutes ago. Did you buy the Lego? What were we talking about at the time? I forget what piece we were talking about. But he asked you if you had bought the Lego of here. Let me look at these. Oh, did he just say it? A Lego set, he's saying. Oh, of the Tintin Lego set. Did you ever buy that? Is that something you would buy?
I haven't bought that. My younger daughter is big into Legos, though.
Oh, really?
And I think we saw either that or something similar. But yeah, so I probably will if I haven't.
There you go. And we got Tom saying, awesome show and tell tonight, Doug. Ruben, amazing art, Doug. Indeed, I loved it. Lee, what's up, Lee? Never said hi to you. Thanks for sharing your collection, Doug. Very impressive. I really enjoyed seeing the underground pieces and hearing your commentary. So there you go. Very nice of you to say that, Lee. Thank you. And the Rickster, of course. Awesome show. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Rick, for being here and for participating as always. And we got Scott saying, great show. Thanks, Doug. And me, thank you. Lego, my ego. Peter says, excellent descriptions and discussion, Doug. Well considered, fun, learned a lot. Thanks for sharing. Ruben did okay.
Thanks. Very nice.
You see, they're such assholes sometimes, you know. Ruben did okay. Fab art, he says. Now Doug can add additional images to the Tintin. Well, yeah, I mean, if once I email him that one, if he wants to add that, I think that would add to the story, to the description. That'd be cool, you know, for any Tintin fan. And thank you, Doug, says David Barn. David Barn, still with us. Thank you, Doug. Learned a lot. That's another thing I love about doing this.
Very nice.
When people tell us that they learn a lot, I love that. That's great. So fantastic. Mark says, terrific show, Doug and Ruben. Thanks, you, Mark. Thank you. And I once again, I apologize for insinuating that you were in and out and not here at all times. But you know, you weren't talking a lot there while we were talking about you. You can't blame me for assuming. Great show, says Marcus. Thanks, Marcus. And Mark wants to confirm. I was here for all 4 hours, Ruben. We'll punch my time card later. Thanks, Mark. Thank you. Also, thank you, Ruben, for your picks. Thank you, Reed. That's very nice of you. I don't need it. I mean, I'm always just joking about it. Ultimately, it is you collectors, right? You collect the good stuff, great art, and you like to talk about it. That's what's good for me. Yeah, so I always appreciate it. And Hydra also, thank you, says great show. It was an honor being in the same chat as the founder, president, CEO of the world's second largest comic art sharing. I don't know. Okay, dicking around. I don't know what that's all about. You're obsessed. You're obsessed. Doug's gallery link is in the show description. Details, FYI to all. Exactly. I've said it 2 or 3 times, but it always bears repeating. Yes, you want to go to his gallery without having to look at it. And it's easier to look through my description below or underneath my description, simply because you'll have to remember he goes by Doug L with a space, first of all, right? Space between the Doug and the L, right? Yeah. Doug space L, but you also have to remember period. He uses a period after the L.
Obviously.
Yeah. So that's it. So cake break, another 8 hours. Ruben says, Brett, another 8 hours. These guys are crazy. They would stay 8 hours if I wanted to go that long. Just imagine if we had 5 more hours to go. No. We both gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta break this chapter, this episode up into chapters. And FYI to you rewind viewers who tuned into last week's episode and found that even up until this very minute, I never broke up last week's show into chapters. That's only because Peter and I, after we finished the show with the live stream, he and I, so it was a 4.5 hour live stream. I believe it ended around 12:30 Eastern. Peter and I chatted after the show for another 5 hours, to like 5 in the morning or 5:20 in the morning, something like that. And I was just dead to the world after that. So I was like, nope. And I got to also tell you guys, most of the rewind views come in those first 8 to 10, 12 hours after the show. So by the time I wake up in the early afternoon on Monday, most of the rewind people have already dropped by. But I got to also say thank you to all you rewind watchers who did watch, because usually on rare occasions where I do not break up the episodes into chapters, those episodes get a lot fewer views. But last week's show still got just over 600 views, which is above average even for a hangout episode. Typically they're a little over 500. This one's a little over 600. So, and that's without breaking it up into chapters. So amazing. So thank you all for those of you who did take the time on Rewind to watch, even though I didn't make it easier for you by giving you the chapters. Okay. But I will do that tonight. So again, so Peter is more talkative when he's only talking to you. Exactly. When he's in private, he talks a lot more. You have to work for your pain. Thank you. Work through the pain. Yes. Thank you. Oh dear, getting blamed. It's not blame, Peter. I told you I had a great time chatting with you for those 5 hours. You know that. It's all your fault, indeed. But anyways, everybody, don't forget Nikki B, again, Christmas in July, part 2 this coming Friday. And I don't know what I'll be doing next Sunday, but probably another hangout episode. So thanks again to all of you, to Doug. Once more, thank you so much. Amazing. Had a great time. I hope those of you who watch on Rewind do watch. I know that collectors who collect the stuff that is non-mainstream typically gets fewer views. I know that's okay. The important thing is we here had a great time during the live portion of the show. But to all of you who tune in, if you tuned in just to the end part here by any chance, I do suggest taking a look, expanding your horizons, and looking at the stuff, listening to the stories. You may find you end up liking stuff that you thought previously you never cared about, you know? So that's it. So again, thank you. I will see you guys here next Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern, once more, 5 o'clock Pacific. And yeah, that's it. Until then, have a great week, everybody. And as I always say, go blue.